Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
I'm a fan of classic movies.
Hello and welcome to Overlapping Dialogue, a podcast of audio commentaries dedicated to discussing cinema that fascinates us in a way we hope fascinates you. We're your co-hosts, Kyle and Levi Huffman. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Levi.
And here we are, episode 12. And today we're going to be talking about 1986's The Color of Money, which is a follow-up from our discussion last week on 1961's The Hustler. It arrives at a very even 25 years after the fact. And we'll kind of talk here in a moment about the movie itself, but also how it maybe compares to The Hustler and what maybe looking at these two movies just as, microcosms of their era, what they have to tell us about how movies have already changed within 25 years. But first, we're filming this, or taping this. We're not filming this.
No.
It's not a video podcast.
No. I don't really have any interest in doing
No,
that either.
I really don't either.
If you want to know what we look like, look us up on social media somewhere.
Yeah, you'll find us eventually.
We're not that interesting looking, so
yeah,
whatever.
I don't think so. But tonight is Oscar night, Tinseltown's greatest night, where all the stars in the Hollywood landscape come out to hand each other gold statues. Only this is actually probably the first year since early 2008 that I have not watched. I have no intention on watching the Academy Awards. Is that safe to say you share that?
Yeah, I didn't watch them last year, actually, either, personally.
Mm-hmm.
I know that was the year where, oh my God, Parasite won.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, fine. Which, by the way, let me say about that, that's a big deal. That's important. As far as it being, a foreign film, especially South Korean film. And South Korea, I think, makes, some of the best international films that have been made in the last, 20 years. I mean, they're on another level. I wasn't that crazy about that movie, personally, just because I'm not that crazy about the few Bong Joon-ho films I've seen. Lee Chang-dong is much of the better as far as those.
Well, Burning from, just a few years ago, that got some possibilities that was maybe going to be nominated for an Oscar, and it wasn't. Should say, though, Minari this year, that Stephen Yeun is nominated for Best Actor, actually, and so we've not even seen that movie, but I really like him a lot. And
I'm sure that's great. Everybody says it is, and frankly, and
I will say, let me just ask this: what does the Oscars even mean this year?
Not
like in any way.
One thing. I mean, first of all, the only movies that I've really seen, I guess, that are even nominated are like Nomadland and Promising Young Woman, and Nomadland I love, and Mank. I forgot. Yeah, Mank.
Mank's easy to forget about, by the way.
Yeah, and First Cow kind of came out. No, I mean, it kind of came. Not that I recall. I don't know. I didn't even really pay attention to the nominations this year. They mean nothing because no movies came out, really. I just don't really understand it. I mean, I'm not one of these people, the Oscars are ridiculous, but I even take them a little more seriously than other people do, but not as seriously as some other people do either. Yeah. I don't do brackets. I don't make a big deal about
ballots,
it. Or that's what I mean. Yeah, ballot, whatever. I don't know. I mean, it's just totally useless. I
think the problem with this year's slate of films has less to do with the films themselves, because most of them are, it should be said, available on streaming services somewhere. One Night in Miami.
That's one we haven't seen yet that we'd like.
As well as The Sound of Metal, which I've heard are both good. But both of those represent, not the movies themselves, but the releases represent a problem with releasing movies on streaming, is the notion of, oh, I'll get around to that eventually.
Yeah.
If it's airing, if you like, this is getting released in a theater, you're more inclined to go out and try to watch it if you want to watch movies in theaters. And because it's like, oh, this is coming out now, I better go see it before it goes away. But if it just gets put up on streaming, it's like, oh, I'll get to that eventually, and then months, if not years, go by before you actually get around to watching it.
And there are some films that happens with, like, let's say we had a normal year, and Sound of Metal I didn't get to see, but that's like one of the only big movies I didn't see that is on streaming. I would go watch it because there's only one of them. The fact that there's One Night in Miami, Sound of Metal, even this was not nominated and whatever, but I know another film was Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, which we randomly saw the trailer for. Well, I know it's funny I'm bringing this up, but like that's a movie I actually really wanted to see.
Well, I remember when we first saw the trailer for that, we were like, "What is that?"
Yeah, because that trailer played before The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh wow, it's been that long. What a weird movie to put that before.
And I was like, "What is this?" But like, it's on streaming, but I haven't gone to see it yet because it's just sitting there. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's just another example.
Yeah, I mean, looking at let's just go through the Best Picture nominees real quick.
Go ahead. Yeah, let's just go through it. Might as well.
The Father, which honestly looks like it was made in a lab. To try to win an Oscar.
I love Olivia Colman. I really, really like Anthony Hopkins. I mostly love him in things, but I think that some people
overrate him.
I don't know if he would. I don't even know if I'd say that Anthony Hopkins is overrated necessarily, but like, I don't know. He's just one of those actors. People are like, "Oh, Anthony Hopkins is just the best." And it's like, well, he's really great, but like,
The Father, it looks like it was made in a
that's what I'm
test
saying.
tube
It's
environment.
like those coming together is a really weird combination. But anyway,
Judas and the Black Messiah, which we actually did see,
that's good too.
And we actually watched that on HBO Max, and I was actually seriously a few times thinking about going to see that in theaters because it was
kind of a crappy way we saw it. It was like, our Wi-Fi was kind of weird.
It's because who would have knew streaming sucks is a thing compared to seeing something on a big screen. Not to say that sometimes DCPs don't look awesome either. Mank.
Tell me I'm a good
saw
Mank.
that. We saw that very early on, just because it's a David Fincher movie, so it's inherently important whether it's
I think we
good
saw
or
it
not.
the night it came out. I think so. Yeah,
but
on
frankly,
Netflix,
forgot about it.
Oh yeah, no, I could care
and
less.
we like Gary Oldman quite a bit, but
that
was kind of a sleepwalking movie and performance in general.
That whole movie was in autopilot anyway.
Minari, which again we heard was really good and have not seen. Nomadland, we talked about that on the Waves episode, I believe it was, right?
Yeah, or maybe it was after that. No, it was then. That's right.
I think it was Waves.
Yeah,
so we talked about that.
It was.
And we quite like that.
Yeah.
A lot.
Oh yeah.
Promising Young Woman.
We talked about that last week.
Yeah, we I don't know.
Yeah.
Frankly, it was just interesting to see.
I'm disinterested
like that.
in my own opinion of it. So,
Sound of Metal again. Haven't seen.
Yeah.
Trial of Chicago 7. I actually want to watch, even though I heard was mostly mediocre. It is on Netflix, I know too. So.
Well, also it should be said you recently read Nixon Land, which talked about it, so your interest level is higher than some other people's would be.
Because part of that was a portion of the book was all about that trial going on in Chicago in the aftermath of the '68 DNC, so I'm more inclined to watch it, but have yet to.
Yeah.
And so again, I know just looking at some other things that get nominations here that weren't weren't nominated or Best Picture nominated. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, again a Netflix movie, heard was good, but again just sitting on Netflix. Let's see. One Night in Miami we mentioned. Leslie Odom Jr. got nominated for that. Let's see. Hillbilly Elegy.
Oh Lord.
Glenn Close is nominated.
Well,
for
that
as Bonnie Mal Vance.
That Maria Bell. How do you say her name? I can't see it from here. My vision isn't great. Maria Bakalova for the Borat movie. That's
which we like that. Let's see. Oh well. You mentioned First Cow. That didn't really get nominated.
That's what I was going to say. Is that like that was one of my more favorite-ish movies of last year. Because I'm a big Reichardt fan, but also I don't want to play the I've been here all along thing, because I mean she's been making movies for so long. I've only been into her for a few years, but it's just like it seemed like there were certain people that the way they reacted to that movie, it was like it's like, oh my god, like Kelly Reichardt. It's like, yeah, she's been making great movies for a while. I don't know why this one was the one everybody was like, oh man, it's because A24 put it out. That's ultimately why. But
another movie.
anyway.
I was trying to think of some other ones that we had saw earlier in here. The Five Bloods we saw. That was a big Netflix movie.
I was
going to
say my favorite movie overall from last year was American Utopia, which Spike Lee directed.
It was at or HBO.
Yeah,
that came out.
So
yeah.
And that was an easy pick because there wasn't a whole lot last year that
Soul, which I still really want to see, but again, it was like, well, we had just got rid of Disney Plus, and
we basically kept Disney Plus to watch Hamilton, and then got rid of it. So, which they're probably going to put a Blu-ray out of that.
Yeah,
so,
and I'll be buying that.
Yeah,
and that was probably ultimately my favorite movie. I think we talked about this. The irony that kind of our two favorite movies, yours and mine, respectfully, from last year, were like stage productions with Hamilton and American Utopia, which I also really loved. And I think the things are great themselves, so no question about that. Right. But it did add this air of like, when people went out and communally saw something, that was an element of both of those things.
Another thing, follow me on this, but another thing that's funny about both of those is that they're both remixed versions ultimately of older history or art. I mean, a lot of the songs in American Utopia were new, but also there were newer versions of old Talking Heads and David Byrne songs. So it's like things that are like either about history that happened a long time ago, or just like, I mean, I don't want to say old people's music, but I mean, David Byrne has been making music for a long time. He's older, but so it's funny. It's like, but they're like 2020 versions of those things, right. But they were not really reflective of 2020 is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? That's what's funny about those to me is like, they kind of feel like they're in another realm, which is ultimately escapism.
I know the Hamilton thing was filmed in like 2015, I think. So I mean that was filmed 5 years ago or 6 years ago at this point. But
anyway,
I know neither of us hold at this point in our lives the Academy Awards in that high regard. However, I did just see a tweet from Scott Nye, which I thought was interesting. The guy I follow on Twitter, and he said, "I get the distaste, both reflective and well-earned, people have for the Oscars. It's just fascinating how many different avenues people take to come to film. The Oscars are so foundational to stirring up my interest that I could never turn away entirely." And I really understand that sentiment as well. I mean, the first time I ever watched the Oscars from beginning to end was when No Country was nominated in early 2008. And ever since then, I've watched it every year. So this is actually the first year since then that I've not. And so it should be acknowledged that for a lot of people getting into movies at their younger age, or even people who casually just kind of sort of care or watch movies, that the Oscars still do hold a big place in that. But of course, the Oscars never have been really, and certainly now have been a real reflector, of course, of what the best.
The only
things
time
are
they might have been was in the 70s.
Yeah,
like when the Godfather won, and it's like the Godfather movies winning. And it's like that's the only time I think it's ever been reflective of the true art that was being made.
I mean, and even then you'll see, this movie wasn't nominated for this or that. But, really in the last several years, my interest has fallen off more and more and more each year, and this was kind of a nail in the coffin for that.
Yeah, I mean, real quickly, let me just put it into perspective. What was nominated for the 1975 year in Best Picture, but it was in 1976.
Early,
so the films of 1975. These are the five films that were nominated for Best Picture. You ready? One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest won, which I think is the least good of all these, but it's still really good. Yeah. Barry Lyndon, Dog Day Afternoon, Jaws, and Nashville. This was what was going on in 1975.
Look at 76 too. You can click on a little thing to the side. If you go up, you can.
Okay. Yeah, let's look over there.
Little thing down there.
49th Academy
So that was
Awards.
75. The year of 75. This is the year of 76.
Okay, so Rocky won, which we talked about Rocky next week. These were the other movies. Now I haven't seen one of these, but right. I haven't. Now All the President's Men, great. I haven't seen Bound for Glory, but I know you've seen it. I really want to see
Hal Ashby.
Yeah. Network and Taxi Driver. And I think Taxi Driver is one of the best movies ever made. So, that's... And
Happy
some other great
Bicentennial,
movies
everybody.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, I know what you're thinking. film, bro. Taxi Driver's one of the best films ever made. I mean,
Well, it is.
It is. So whatever. I could care less what you think. But no, I mean, this is what was going on in the 1970s. Okay, where are we? What's going on today?
And
I don't know.
I did just want to bring
Right.
this up just because
But-
it's obviously by the time people are listening to this, the Oscars have already been handed out.
Yeah.
I don't even really know how they're doing the ceremony this year in terms of like. If
I don't
they're gonna
know.
have people
I
there.
won't find out.
Yeah.
So yeah. No, and then, by the way, like you just said, you're already going to know by now who won, and because this will be the next week, but that you're listening to this. But yeah, I mean, I don't care. I mean,
Well,
you
this,
know,
is a real pressure point for the relevance of the Academy Awards, which has already been waning in recent years anyways. And like everything else that's been put under stress, COVID only makes it worse.
Yep.
So who
because
knows what it's
let
gonna-
me say this about the Oscars, and we'll move on. This is my kind of official opinion. A lot of people wouldn't agree with this, but I don't care. I don't know when it ever happened. Well, I know why it happened. It started out that people used to care more about movies.
The culture.
Because the culture itself, because that was about all there was. There was TV,
Yeah.
but like it was just like you go to the movies. You go to see The Godfather. Everybody goes to see The Godfather. Everybody goes to see The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Like everybody goes to see these big movies because that's all that was going on. Frankly, I mean, you had TV, but like it was just a bigger deal. So it always was an event to have the Oscars, but like over time, the culture has changed so much where it's like, yeah, we shouldn't be making this into a big show like the Super Bowl. It should be on Bravo or something, and it should be actually like, oh, people, everybody else, don't worry about it. People who actually care about this stuff come over here, you know. Which sounds elitist, but frankly, I mean, that's what it should be, though. It's about movies. It's about art. It should be. It's not about, you know, oh, what did everybody... Because that's also the thing. It's like you have the Oscar bait movies that get made like
The Father,
or Spotlight, as I know one. A lot of people like the Whipping Boy all the time, which I haven't seen. But then it's like, oh, but why aren't they doing Black Panther, or why aren't they doing these Marvel movies Lion King? And it's like, well, because we're going to be talking about Martin Scorsese here in a moment. He says those aren't cinema. And frankly, I agree. So, you know, if you're coming here not agreeing with that, sorry. But you know what I mean? It's just like, so it's always this in between. It's like, no, so we're not awarding the actual art house stuff, but we're not awarding the most popular stuff. So what we get is all this stuff in the middle, which ultimately reflects nothing.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so irrelevant.
I think the last time the culture in the Oscars really spoke to one another was probably like in the 90s when something like Titanic won.
Yeah.
All the Oscars that it did, and it was not only an achievement in a blockbuster cinema, truly.
Yeah.
It also made a lot of money, and so like a lot of people loved it. The critics mostly really liked it. And as we can see, it's a movie that's endured over all the years.
Or even
where people,
maybe like,
average person has seen that movie.
Or even maybe Return of the King, but that's...
Yeah,
but even Titanic is even more of a version of that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And the only reason I really brought this up was because, well, I don't know if we've really talked about the institution of the Academy Awards on this show really all that much.
We'll probably talk about it again at some point. But.
My favorite thing to always bring up in terms of if you just want to just belittle the Oscars in any way, the movie Paris, Texas in 1984 received 0 Academy Award nominations.
Yeah.
Every conceivable category almost in that movie, it should not have only been nominated, it should have maybe won across the board. And no. And so, again, this isn't just a modern problem in terms of their things.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s, which is when the movie we're talking about
well, and I
came out,
think the fact that it took this long for Paul Newman to win an Oscar for The Color of Money, which, not to demean The Color of Money too much, I'll probably be doing that a little bit later. But I'm not trying to pat it, but it took that long for Paul Newman to win an Oscar. He should have won for, like I said, he should have even won for The Verdict,
which is a few years before this.
And he didn't even win that. So, and he should have won it way before that too. So, it's no new issue.
He won an honorary Oscar in like early '86 as this movie was being filmed. You could literally see Sally Field was talking to him via satellite. You could literally see him on the set of this movie accepting that or whatever. And I guess they're like, well, let's give him a real one the next year. I don't know,
Yeah,
what
they were
the
like,
deal with that was.
Yeah, they were so impressed by his performance in that acceptance that they were like,
And so again, it's kind of a good point to talk about the Oscars in this movie because again, it was his the very first win he received was when The Color of Money, Paul Newman. And it's also ironic that Scorsese's first win himself was not for another 20 years after this. With
The Departed,
which shows you that the whole thing is a kind of a joke.
By the way,
frankly.
he deserved to win for The Departed. By the way,
No,
I just want to get that out there
I'm not saying he did,
because some people like to do the whole it was the legacy win or the pity win or whatever. And it's like no, The Departed is great and he deserved to win for it. So let that be known.
Let's count the ways: Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, New York Stories. Goodfellas. You know, I mean,
The Last Temptation.
he should have been a multi-Oscar award winner by this point.
Oh yeah.
It's interesting that Tom Cruise himself has yet to win one. Actually, think about him as an actor. But
I don't know why he didn't win for like Tropic Thunder, but I mean. I'm serious. I'm kind of being serious.
Magnolia, Eyes Wide Shut, Jerry Maguire. You pick it. I mean, you can go down the list. But all right. So, Color of Money.
All right.
1986. Yeah. Run us through what this is
American sports drama film directed by Martin Scorsese, adapted from. Okay, so Walter Tevis, who wrote the original Hustler novel, wrote a sequel to this called Color of Money.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In 1984. Apparently, he died. I think the same year he wrote that. Let me make sure about that. But apparently this is, same year. So he died the same year he wrote this, the sequel, that book sequel. Apparently it's a sequel in name only. Supposedly Richard Price, who adapted the book into the screenplay, it changed a lot of things. But anyway, so the actors will go through. Well, I can talk about, I guess.
Just very briefly.
We'll talk about the actors in a second. I should talk about what the movie's about. Obviously, Fast Eddie Delson, Felson, but of course I had to make fun of that name again. Is a liquor salesman now. He's not a bar owner, but he sells liquor to the bars.
I've only seen this movie once. And in my head, I remembered him as like he owns a bar or something. But
I think it's actually that he sells liquor to some bars in Chicago or whatever. Anyway, so he still plays pool, kind of like to himself, and has kind of disappeared from the whole pool world and he kind of notices Tom Cruise is really, really good. Yeah. His name is
a version of himself.
Yeah. Vincent Lauria. He sees, I can turn this kid into something. That kind of sparks him to want to. He basically sort of becomes a still evil, but not as evil version of George C. Scott, like basically in the first film. Yeah. But another big character in the movie is Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio. I think that's how you say her name.
So she's in Scarface,
right?
Years before.
I was going to say
Al Pacino's sister in that.
And that she is the girlfriend to Tom Cruise, and she kind of has her own interests and things, and she's a very interesting character in the movie. We'll talk about that.
I think what's interesting about her is that she almost plays like who Paul Newman's girlfriend was in the first movie, Piper Laurie character, but if she was actually more engaged and cared about the game. You can tell that doesn't mean anything. Well, yeah,
because I think that's what's interesting about Piper Laurie's character in the first movie, actually, is that she, like she said, we have our own problems, and she's never actually interested in anything he's doing, literally. She's just like, no, I have my own problems, and I don't really care about all that, but anyway, Anyway, but and it's basically
John Turturro's all in this as well,
right? Bill Cobbs, who's in a lot of random things. He was in what is it? He's in specifically.
Not Museum. He's one of them old guys.
That's what it is. Is that And then Forrest Whitaker is Amos as well.
He's only in like a scene,
but anyway. So the story is pretty basic. Just that they're kind of going around hustling, but then by the end of the movie, Eddie decides, I actually do want to be more competitive again, and which his
mentorship over Vince awakens in him the desire to play pool again,
right?
But
so
and it made a lot of money. This movie, I think.
Well, it was a budget of 13.8. It made 52.3, so that's pretty good.
And I might just mention this right here. And there's a conversation with Scorsese book with him being interviewed by Richard Schickel, the critic, and this whole movie has an interesting place in Scorsese's career because in the really the 80s in general was between, kind of two of his most memorable movies, Raging Bull and Goodfellas. And the 80s is kind of seen as this wayward period in his career where he was just kind of making movies a little more casually. Now he did make some stuff like King of Comedy, which some people hold in really, really high regard.
And After Hours.
And After Hours. Eventually, all of it was building to The Last Temptation of Christ in 1988, I believe. That's when that came out.
Yeah.
And that was a huge movie for him. He'd been wanting to make this big Jesus movie for a long time. And I know that most of that, the chapter in this Schickel book on The Color of Money is mostly about trying to talk about getting the financing for The Last Temptation of Christ.
Somebody joked in a review that we read, that's all, the name was all it meant to him, basically. It was like money. I don't remember exactly what it said, but yeah.
Which I think is unfair, because I understand why people would say that, but I think this movie actually very squarely fits into a lot of Scorsese's interests as a filmmaker. But it is interesting that he said something along the lines of like, one of his agents or a producer said, you can make your own money from doing movies, right?
Yeah, right.
Because everything he had done up to that point, he was basically taking scale, if not maybe just slightly more, and wasn't really kind of. He cared about the movies themselves. He wasn't cared about making some big fat paycheck, which just speaks to him as an artist. But I mean, this movie holds an interesting place in his career. Before we get really into that. Let's talk about this in relation to The Hustler. Again, this takes place 25 years afterwards. I actually had no idea until just now that this was based, even if by name alone, on a sequel book.
Right.
I know you don't hold this movie in as high regard, certainly as The Hustler, but even as in of itself. Yeah. What about it doesn't jive to you in terms of its continuation of The Hustler?
And it's been a while since I saw this movie. I said this last week. Originally, when I watched it, it would have been probably, I can't remember, might have been 2017, or it was like my first year when I was in college. I was a freshman. I went in 2016, but I can't remember. Let me actually look this up really quickly to
2016,
make sure.
What a year it was.
Yep, no, it was September of 2016, because I remember, first of all, I had watched Last Temptation of Christ for the first time on my birthday of 2016, I remember, all by myself in my dorm room. And we could talk about that movie later at some point, too, maybe throughout here and there. First of all, that movie... Yeah, I'll kind of go off and talk about that for a second, just because I want to talk about that movie for a minute. First of all, I know that movie's highly controversial. It's actually
especially right when it came
not
out.
As much now as it used to be. I think because it's kind of dulled. But there's still a lot of evangelicals that still hate it. Like over the years, have continued to. And
well, it should be said that movie is an adaptation of a book, a novel, and not the Gospels themselves.
Which Passion of the Christ also is. It is not entirely based on the gospel, but people let that slide for some reason, too. And this is a whole other conversation I might have at some other point about the differences between those two movies and why I love one and why I don't love the other. You can guess which is the one I don't love, the other. One of them is directed by Mel Gibson, so just think about that.
Are you saying Mel Gibson is not quite the filmmaker of Martin Scorsese's talent?
Or quite the Catholic? I don't know. Or the way he should be? I don't know. Anyway, that's... Never mind. But that movie... it's almost okay. It's kind of actually it's interesting why I'm talking about both these movies together. That movie I adjusted to for most of, and I was like, okay. It wasn't that I was mad because as a Christian person, it wasn't that I was angry at the movie, but there were things about it that weren't scripture, obviously, that I was like, okay, this is kind of a choice I don't know if I agree with, but okay. But by the end of that movie. The ending of that movie is, first of all, one of the best endings in any movie.
I think it's probably the strongest of his whole career. Scorsese's, I think, maybe.
But, and I'm literally not just saying this just to be like hyperbolic and but it literally is a real religious experience. The ending of that movie literally made me feel like I was. It sounds corny to say, like I was there at the crucifixion. Yeah. It really is like a truly transcendent moment that is not only due to the filmmaking of it, but also Peter Gabriel's score for that movie is really awesome. I love Peter Gabriel anyway, but that's a really great final
What role
track.
does John Lurie as a disciple waiting in the wings have for you?
I didn't know that at the time I watched it. I didn't know who John Lurie was, but anyway, so That movie was where and by the end it totally had me, and it was just like it was just unlike any experience I'd ever had watching a movie. It really was something else. This movie, it was kind of the opposite. I watched it about a month later after that for the first time, Color of Money. Like I said last week, that was when I had wanted to really watch What We Do in the Shadows, but did this instead because I couldn't get a hold of it. So for most of this movie, I remember being like, okay, I'm mostly liking this.
And now, just real quick, you had seen The Hustler several years before.
Oh, yeah. I had seen it in the early 2010s and then had seen it again in 2015.
Okay.
So I had already loved it, but had seen it about a year and a half before. So again.
Yeah.
But and I was like, okay, I mean, like, I love Tom Cruise, and we'll talk about Tom Cruise here in a little bit and how great he is. You're an even bigger fan of him than me. But he's just annoying in the movie. I mean, and that's not against the movie, but it's just kind of like, okay, like, this guy, like, it's just like, and that's part of the movie, and I get it, and there's nothing I have against that, but it's just kind of annoying to watch at certain times. It's just like, okay. But I felt that, and we can talk about this later, but I felt by the end, the change where it felt like all of a sudden, Eddie just, now I do want to be competitive again. I felt like I said, I've said this multiple times over the last few weeks that we've been doing this podcast. Maybe that was too subtle for me and I didn't get it at the moment or something, but I just felt like it was just, and that's something I'm interested in. I find it interesting that they would do that. So I felt at the time it was maybe betraying the original film partially, but as I've gone along, I thought, no, it's not that it's that. I just felt like it didn't convey those emotions in the correct way, and it was way too messy. And and the movie's 2 hours. It's just under 2 hours long, which is a good thing because it's shorter than the first movie, which isn't that big of a problem with the first movie. But that movie's a little long, as it's just over 2 hours. But this, I felt like, didn't have the runway it needed to convey all of the characters in the way they needed to be. But I'm saying all this from not having as good of a memory of it, having only seen it once. You've only seen it once as well, so...
I've caught it on TV a bunch over the last several years, actually, scenes here and there. For me, the impression that this movie immediately... And I saw The Hustler before this and loved that as well. For me, the impression that this left, though, was just really the movie stardom of Paul Newman. Mm-hmm. Now, I had seen several Paul Newman movies before this, but just specifically the look of him in those, like, 80s older guy clothes he's wearing with the sunglasses, how big they are, driving the white Cadillac, like, that is like a handful of times I've ever seen a movie where I've said, this guy or gal commands the screen, has literally grabbed the attention of the audience and saying, you are watching me in this movie or this film. Now, Paul Newman, I've went back and seen some other movies. He's done this multiple times, and he was one of the great movie stars. We talked about this last week. But really, for me, it was, and also just physically, he reminds me a lot of my memories of my father's father.
He does look like him,
Lewis Huffman, who passed away just months before you were born.
Yeah, I never met him, but he does. I can see that.
And so that was another thing, I think, that watching him, and I know he played pool, and he was not like a professional pool player or nothing, but he would have frequented some of the worlds that are not that dissimilar from this movie, and so there was just this familiarity aspect of watching all this. And I don't know, like, I don't think it's quite as good as The Hustler, but it's just well, for one thing, a Martin Scorsese picture. Yeah. It's fast, it's loose, rock and roll runs through its very soul. Yeah. It's just such a fun movie to watch. In a way that The Hustler isn't always. That's true. Actually The Hustler's credit, because The Hustler is kind of about some different things than even this is, even though it's the same character. And I say the same character in air quotes right now because what I like about it is The Hustler feels like a complete story. Yeah. Feels like it has its own beginning, middle, and end. We didn't really need to go back to this world. Right. But by going back to this world, what I like is it's almost taking, as we said earlier, it's taking Newman, and we know everything he went through with the first movie, and now putting him in the George C. Scott role, but also using all that knowledge we have of him from the first movie. He gets this awakening. I don't remember exactly when it is, if it's about halfway through the movie. We'll say it's about halfway, to play pool again. And there's part of me that thinks of him as this corrupting figure over Cruise's life. But then another part of me thinks that, well, Cruise would have just been a version of the guy that he is anyway. There would have been another guy to do this. And his kind of mentorship over him, but ultimately, he's still Fast Eddie Felson.
Yeah.
Deep down, he cannot just sit on the sidelines and watch this kid usurp him.
That is a part of Martin Scorsese's oeuvre, is the idea of temptation.
Yeah.
And, literally, one of his films has the word temptation in the name. I think I buy that.
Yeah.
But
deep down, he cannot sit by the sidelines and watch this kid be great. And part of him's rooting for the kid to be great, but then another part of him's like, but what about me?
Yeah.
I had my whole career sidelined, and he's not saying I want this kid's career sidelined, but he's just saying that the kid's awakened something in him to play again.
It's not even as personal as Cruise takes it.
No.
Or by the end, I think he realizes that in my memory. But yeah, because it's not even personal like, oh, screw you. It's just like, no, but I do want to do this too. And I get that.
And just looking at this movie in the 2010s or 2020s when you watch this movie, I'm just struck by the look of this era of the pool hall.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Now, I really love the era of the pool hall in the early 60s where it had these very tall ceilings. And this one, I feel like the ceilings are a little bit lower. It should be said this is in color. The original movie's in black and white. So just the way the green felt looks, the way the balls look.
It reminds me a lot of like Hard Eight and like early Paul Thomas Anderson, the way his films look in that sense.
Yeah,
too.
and I don't know if this is the very first movie Michael Ballhaus shot for Scorsese, but he was one of his. I think he just passed away several years ago.
Oh, really? Well, I was looking. Michael Ballhaus actually was German, and he worked with Rainer Werner Fassbinder multiple times, so he actually kind of came from a pedigree already to this. As far as in Germany.
He's not quite Robbie Mueller, but he's really great.
He's really
and
good.
And you can look at a lot of Scorsese's movies. He doesn't have his one DP that he works with. He has a stable of DPs. He's worked with Robert Richardson several times.
Michael Chapman.
Ballhaus, he's done, off the top of my head, he's done this. He's done Goodfellas. He's done The Departed. Movies that have a little bit of a grittier look in terms of his more recent work. And I might have mentioned this in the past before. I'll just go ahead and say it now. Full disclosure, Martin Scorsese is my very favorite filmmaker of all time. This was a movie. This is one of the newer, in quotes, movies I've seen from him because I saw a lot of the big ones growing up. This was one that always was, it's the sequel to The Hustler. Kind of has a more random place in his career. It's kind of fallen through the cracks, overall speaking.
Yeah.
And to me, it just speaks to his power as a filmmaker that you can have as many classics or near classics as he's made. Oh, and then there's like this Color of Money sequel, Paul Newman, Tom Cruise. Yeah. And that to be this weirdly anonymous movie in his filmography, and it to be still as stylish, as verbose, as electric, as musical, as everything that it is, and it's like a fourth or fifth tier Scorsese movie.
Yeah, and he worked with Richard Price in that too.
And that just speaks to he literally has created a filmography without equal in the last 50, 60 years in American movies. That a movie like this can fall through the cracks and it be, oh wow, look at that.
Yeah,
Well,
first of all, I'll say I don't know how much we're going to talk about Scorsese specifically in this episode because, spoiler, we're going to be doing another Scorsese movie next week.
Yeah.
So that one I feel like we could, and I mean we can talk about Scorsese now a little bit, but I just feel like that would be the better time to really talk about those specifics because that movie's going to be really long too. So
spoiler alert on that too.
But anyway, no, I love Scorsese. I mean, he's in my probably top 3 favorite. I mean, his films are great. I don't know.
And, I mean,
we talk about more about that later. But
again, just like if you go and look at his filmography at this time, another thing I love is just that literally age-wise for him, he is literally in between the Newman and Cruise parts in terms of his own age and his own standing in film at this time, because he's had at least 10, 15 years of a track record by this point in terms of being a serious filmmaker. But at the same time, he still is in a weird down period, relatively speaking, of the critical acclaim combined with the box office that his mid to late 70s work made. And that's going to come back by Goodfellas, because really from Goodfellas onward, his career box office wise and critically is more on track. Where if you read a lot of reviews for a lot of 80s Scorsese movies, a lot of the critics kind of point to like, oh, he is one of our great filmmakers, but he's kind of spinning his wheels, so to speak. That's a general notion you see in most of these. So again, talking about his 80s work, you're talking about The King of Comedy, After Hours, The Color of Money, and Last Temptation of Christ. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 movies. Not to mention he did like the Bad music video for Michael Jackson. New York Stories isn't even technically a part of this. So again, it just speaks to his power as an artist and as a filmmaker that he's making all these kind of really eclectic movies during this time period that all feel as if though they are from him, but at the same time, he's not quite making the work that we always totally associate him with making. And so I just think this movie represents him in an interesting moment. Like I said, he's still partially the Cruise character. He's still partially the young filmmaker who feels like he has something to prove, but he's already the guy who's made Taxi Driver and Raging Bull at the same time. So I just find this to be a very fascinating, almost metatextual commentary on his career at this time. And again, mentioning other people, Richard Price, I know you're a big fan of him. What do you think what do you see of Richard Price in this movie?
Well, first of all, let me say I love Richard Price, but he's not somebody that I find it easy to latch on to the writing of. Like, it's almost anonymous when he writes, like, for the screen. But, I don't know, typically, and I say that because we're talking about this movie, but typically, the way you can realize Richard Price wrote something is, it's really great. So he must have wrote it, right? Basically, but, I mean, normally he writes more explicitly crime fiction. Of course, I've read just a couple of his books of Lush Life and The Whites, which are both very good. I more became a fan of him for his specifically HBO writing work of, like, I haven't watched The Wire yet, but, like, I know he worked on that. Of course, loved The Night Of, was one of my favorite shows that
wasn't based on anything at all, right?
I don't think so. If it would have been, it was like loosely based on something.
Real quick.
But also that he wrote on The Deuce pretty extensively as well, here and there, along with Simon and Pelicanos.
Well, actually, it's an adaptation of a British.
That's
show,
what I thought.
Criminal
I thought it
Justice.
was some kind of thing. And then also that he wrote that adaptation of The Outsider, the Stephen King novel. I don't know.
It's weird to see him doing like a Stephen King adaptation. Those aren't.
Well, and it makes sense that that's what it is, because it is ultimately a police procedural. It just happens to be that there's some freaks running around. That's the only major difference.
That's true.
I mean, I just love his. I mean, there is a certain like dialogue sense that he has, and I think this movie has that. But actually, I would have watched this at the time that The Night Of was just ending.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if I really recognized at the time that he wrote this. I'm not sure. So this will be interesting to kind of watch that as a piece of his iconography as well. But
said that he actually also wrote, I guess, the New York Stories segment for Scorsese. Funny enough.
So I guess they just worked together around that time quite a bit. But we haven't seen that, by the way. Yet.
I don't know if you know this, but they're both New Yorkers. Both from the Big Apple.
That's true.
The city that never sleeps. Now this movie takes place mostly in the Chicago area.
Yeah, and like Las Vegas, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like underwhelming amount to say about Richard Price at this time, but he's great. So and like I said, I'll be interested to watch this as a version of that. I know he also, when did Sea of Love come out?
It was the early 90s, I think.
That was also another big thing he's known for around this time too, which I have not seen.
89 actually, so into the 80s.
So I thought it was pretty soon after this, but but anyway, I mean, and I think it's interesting. One thing I want to remark upon, as far as going back to Scorsese very briefly, that about his career, where this sits in his career. It's interesting that we read reviews of this movie, a couple of which were positive, some of which were negative. The Ebert review was mostly negative. That Chicago Tribune, or no, not who was it that wrote that?
Chicago Sun Times.
No. Well, he writes for that, but I think it was a Chicago Tribune review.
Yeah.
Somebody else wrote
Not Gene
that
Siskel,
that
but
they
somebody else.
write. Or was that the New York Times ones? I don't. Times one. I
Vincent
don't know.
Canby was New York Times.
Right?
He
No,
was more
it was the
positive.
other one. Yeah, whatever this other mysterious review was that we can't remember. They said something like that. Yeah, he hasn't really made a big movie in a while. Like, it was kind of interesting. They were like getting kind of down on Scorsese about, I don't know, like, and then Goodfellas would be made only years later. It's just interesting how you go back and read things at the time, and they're like, I don't know about this Scorsese guy. Looks like a flame out now, and it's like he had yet to even make his biggest movie.
That's,
and that happens a lot.
This seems off topic, but
Yeah.
with 1941, a lot of the reviews for that were like, this Spielberg's flash in the pan. He's a one, maybe two-hit wonder. Like, this just shows that he doesn't have what it takes to be any kind of director in Hollywood. Like, and what did he make after that? Raiders of the Lost Ark, E.T. Like, and so, like you said, it is interesting, very valuable to go back and read old film criticism, especially when it's midstream in someone's career, and to understand what people would have been thinking at that time and where people's careers fit. Yeah. We haven't really said anything about Tom Cruise all that much. This is obviously a very early Tom Cruise role. Yeah. I think Top Gun also came out in '86. I
mean, who cares? But yes.
Yeah, neither of us are big fans of Top Gun.
Well, I've seen half of it, and it was straight up garbage.
Like
so, this would also only be a couple years before Rain Man, which I've yet to see. Sadly,
he's good in that.
And also, the year after Rain Man was born on the 4th of July as well. So that
this seems like a controversial statement, but I think it's totally true. I think he actually gives the slightly better performance in Rain Man than Dustin Hoffman does. Dustin Hoffman plays like the big autistic kind of part, and he plays the subtler normal brother part. No, I don't want to say normal.
Yeah.
Non-autistic brother. But yeah, looking at some of the Cruise's roles up to this point, Outsiders was 83. What's hilarious about the Outsiders is that all those big stars or stars to be or stars of the time, kid stars, he's so in the background, and you can tell the movie considers him such an afterthought. And he's going to have the careers of all them times 100.
Taps and whatever the hell. Those movies early
Sean
on.
Penn was in
Well, he had
that
been
as well.
in Risky Business, I guess.
Risky Business was 83, the same year.
Right.
All the Right Moves, Legend. That's that random.
That Ridley Scott movie. Yeah, who cares? Tim Curry. Ridley Scott and Tim Curry.
And then this year, 86 seems like a kind of a leveling up year of sorts in terms of his stardom. We got Top Gun, which again I don't really think anything of, and The Color of Money. And then the year after that, or 2 years later, you got Cocktail, Rain Man, Born on the 4th of July is 89.
Days of Thunder, which we
Thunder, 90.
Far and Away, A Few Good Men.
And what I love about Tom Cruise is that he is immediately... He is annoying in this movie, but it fits with what the character is.
It's what it needs to be. But
I think he's pretty great in the role. He plays a version of what Paul Newman was doing in The Hustler, but even more annoying and even more arrogant than he was at that time.
Yeah. Because there were moments when Fast Eddie Felson would actually stop and be quiet. There are rarely any moments where that's the case with this character.
But as as the movie goes on, you do see him start to mature. A little bit. And again, that's another thing of this. I'm a huge fan of Tom Cruise in general, especially his 90s and onward work. And as much as I love his action movies now, quite frankly, I like him to see him do something a little smaller. But that's his career, his decision, I guess.
Top Gun Maverick coming out soon.
It is very, say what you will about Top Gun. It is very interesting that it's only now we're getting a sequel to that.
Yeah.
All these years later,
It's longer, I guess. Is it longer between... No, it's the exact same amount of time between when The Hustler was made and this was made and when Top Gun and this would have been made.
35
oh, no, it'll be that long. See, that's why I never did good in math in school. Yeah. Anyway, screw all that, whatever.
It will undoubtedly have he's the Newman-esque type of the older guy.
Well, and then you're going to have
kids.
Miles Teller as the new...
which I feel like Miles Teller has been the new kid for a while
and
now.
It's like, he was in Bleed for this already, okay? Like, we've moved past that, level, but, yeah.
Glenn Powell...
who's that?
He's in Everybody Wants Some. I know one of your favorite movies.
No.
Right? No? You don't like it? I don't like it either. But
I don't have anything to say about it either, so I mean...
Val Kilmer's apparently also going to be reprising his role as Iceman. Ed Harris.
That picture of Ed Harris on his Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
He's like, what?
John Hamm is Vice Admiral Cyclone.
Cyclone?
Oh, yeah.
What?
Literally sounds like a G.I. Joe
By the way,
character.
can I just say something about this whole Top Gun Maverick thing real quickly? Like, the way all that looks, it's like, does the U.S. military even work the same way as that anymore? Like, it's like, is that even the same world?
Even in Top Gun, it was a throwback of we might like go toe to toe. Was it like the Russians or the Soviets?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that would have led to like a war.
Yeah.
Which didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know.
But I'm saying even like Admiral Cyclone, like, are you 5 years old? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Admiral Cyclone.
That can't literally be his real name.
What is
It
that?
has to
Is
be
that
a
like a
nickname.
Power Rangers villain? Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's like Iceman, Goose, Maverick.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's nonsense. I don't know. Anyway. One other thing, we have anything more to say about Tom Cruise?
No, we're
Okay.
done.
One last thing I want to mention: Robbie Robertson did the original score for this movie, who of course was in the band. I'm not saying
what band was that?
the band,
No, but what's the name?
the band.
No.
Bob Dylan's band.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
I
but
knew
anyway,
that, by the way.
one thing I want to say about that is I don't remember his score in the movie particularly, but obviously Scorsese is known for his musical cues in films, mostly his, obviously soundtracks. There are actually two major songs in this movie I think of often. One of them is Werewolves of London, because that's a very famous scene.
Scenes, yeah.
And also the other one was It's in the Way That You Use It. The Eric Clapton song was, I think, written for this movie, or at least was like really heavily used for this movie. By the way, first of all, I'll say I used to be a massive Eric Clapton fan. I still like him enough now, but frankly, I've just moved on to better music. That's nothing against him or anything. Layla is still one of my favorite songs ever. But anyway,
He's if you're listening to Eric Clapton, he's moved on to better things, but no offense whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't be listening to this, so whatever. By the way, I mean, and whatever, he's had his own brushes with racist things he said, so I don't feel that bad about whatever. The fact I'm even still saying, I still kind of like you, should be a compliment, I think. But anyway, no offense, love you, babe. But anyway, other than certain things. But anyway, that's actually maybe one of my favorite Eric Clapton songs too. That's in this movie. Anyway, but also go look up the album cover to August, which is the name of that album that was on. It's very funny. If you're not, Kyle's looking it up now.
Offhand,
just like the funniest looking image I've ever seen. Is look at that. It's like he
Looks like he's wearing pajamas.
It's like he got dragged out of bed and put in front. It's like deadbeat dad energy or something. Anyway, go look that up. August by Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
But anyway,
your favorite month.
Yeah, that's the month I was born in, so it's all, But anyway, so also, the reason I'm bringing all this up, I realize this is a Touchstone film. You think we're going to get flagged again on this one?
Probably.
Okay.
As we're speaking currently, our most recent episode on The Hustler has been flagged.
Oh, really?
On
YouTube?
Yeah, on
Okay.
YouTube. So,
For what? You think it was because of our Benny Hill theme at the end?
No, it was. It said
what
it
was
was
it?
because of the Hustler copyright, which they must.
Oh, really?
Must have been. The
I thought
sound
that
in the
Geraldo and
background.
Bongino got on us too. I don't know.
Well, maybe deep
The
down.
Fox Corporation.
Maybe deep down they were somehow.
See,
played
because
a
they're
role.
owned by Disney now, Fox.
I'm not.
See,
gonna
it
get
all
into
goes
this,
together.
But actually, Fox News is owned by Fox Television, which is not owned by Disney.
Oh.
That makes no sense whatsoever.
So they
but,
get to wash their hands of that whole part of the
yeah.
world. Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah,
at least
it
they did one
doesn't
good
make
thing.
Sense, but yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, we'll see. I don't know, but anyway.
So we're going to take a brief
So that
break.
was a really rambling introduction of all the different things we talked about.
I think
but
we talked. We got it all in.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a brief break, and when we come back, we're going to start me up.
Start me up.
Is
No,
there any Rolling
I don't
Stones
think
in
there
this?
was any Rolling
I don't
Stones in this, but
think
we're
so.
going to keep an eye out, or an ear out,
Yeah.
I should say. But yeah.
1986, The Color of Money.
Paul Newman, Tom Cruise, in a Martin Scorsese picture.
He's got the eye, he's got the stroke, he's got the flair.
Vincent's the best.
We got a racehorse here, a thoroughbred. You make him feel good, I teach him how to run. I'm not your daddy, I'm not your boyfriend, so don't be playing games with me. I'm your partner.
I love this.
You're an incredible flake. But that's a gift.
I made money.
The lost money.
Hey, I'll come fix him.
I got half of me that says I got a hold of the best thing that I ever seen, and half of me that says it just ain't worth it.
Why'd you take a walk? $500 says you choke right now. You used me.
Yes, I did.
I'm gonna leave.
This is Fast Eddie Felson. Who the hell are you?
25 years ago, I won my share of medals. But it was over for me before it really got started. I'm hungry again.
See some heavy legend action.
I won his best game.
You want my game? You couldn't deal with my game, Jack. You're outmanned.
I'm gonna beat him, you know.
What makes you so sure?
Touchstone Pictures presents
You smell what I smell? Smoke?
Money.
The Color of Money.
And here we are. We're back. Love that trailer, by the way.
It's so, you know what's funny too about the movie is that it's trying to make it look like a thriller, sort
And
of.
the movie's not a thriller.
And it's just like money is on the table and your throat's gonna be slit. It's just like, all right, calm down. Like it wasn't that much.
It does have like a certain intensity to it, but not like a thriller though. Yeah, I agree. All right, so we're watching this off of the standard issue Blu-ray.
Yeah. By the way, it's just rated R. There was no add-on words for
So
it. No description.
If you're under 17. You might want some parental guidance.
Don't worry, this might be flagged on YouTube anyway.
Yeah.
So
we're gonna hit play in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I mean, this Touchstone is still technically in existence, but certainly not what it used to be in terms of being a big. Basically, Touchstone for a long time was Denny's.
the Denny's of studios.
No, but Disney World's. No, Disney's like kind of either prestige, basically their prestige drama funnel. I always love too. By the way, Martin Scorsese picture, not film, picture. Even the voiceover of the trailer guy had to say that. Like, now Tom Cruise was above the title in this.
Yeah,
which shows he's moving on up. We'll get some Scorsese opening narration here. It's interesting that Scorsese said several times he's famously not a sports fan really in any way, but he made this movie and Raging Bull, which are two huge sports movies. Because I don't necessarily think of pool as a subject of a sports movie, but it is sport. I mean, it's... Luck itself is an art.
Title theme playing.
What a weird...
it's like it's a horror movie or something.
What a weird font. Like, the chiller font of titles,
By the way, excuse me, I'm eating some popcorn this episode because I figured why not.
Yeah. And I read his name earlier. This is an earlier Totoro movie. Mm-hmm. I bring this up every once in a while that if you watch the Transformers DVD, you probably find this on the Blu-ray. There's a moment of talking, there's some bullcrap special feature talking about, all the fun we had on set, blah, blah, blah. And it's being, Totoro or Michael Bay, the one are saying that. And you see in the background, like, B-roll footage of Totoro on the set doing what is very clearly no sound, but you can tell very clearly a Martin Scorsese impression.
Yeah.
And everyone's laughing. I just always remember that. And again, it should be said, Turturro, he pops up in Raging Bull. He had a very literally like it was popped up in a scene. No lines really, but
Irving Axelrad. I mean, it was the 80s, you know, rad, like. Barbara Defina. Inagata Defina, baby. Like, alcohol. So, color is going to be our drinking game word this movie.
You know, Scorsese had to be thinking about the communion, you know, like that shot. The shot of that shot. Hustle. I love a late night omelet.
Oh, yeah.
That's the time to eat it.
With peppers and all the stuff.
All the fixings.
All the, quote, trimmings.
I love that, you know, he's clearly not necessarily a pool hustler anymore, but he makes total sense. He'd be a liquor salesman, like selling liquor to bars and restaurants in various places. Hotels. So he's still living a life where he's, again, he's addicted to the road life. You can tell, just living hotel to hotel room.
It's such a Scorsese moment.
Yeah, the pan. The whip pan.
The Scorsese guy. Pretty good. I'm just going to say it. I think Scorsese is a good filmmaker.
Whoa. Like, way to put yourself out there. It only is now really hitting me that John Turturro and Tom Cruise, that's not a duo you'd imagine together much. They need to do a road movie.
Old granddad. Reminds me of that Rod Stewart song about the handbags and the glad rags. Oh, poor old granddaddy had to switch a buyer. If you didn't like my impression of Rod Stewart, don't worry. Not doing it again. So. Oh, Kyle's going into the popcorn.
Yeah, I can't see it being eaten and not have a bite.
Meanwhile, by the way, should say, this is that second tier popcorn. We were talking about that last week. Not the microwave, but not the theater, so it's okay.
It's in between.
Yeah.
Pop Secret to me is the best brand of
I like Act 2
microwave. That's good. You can just hear that and know that.
Because he's insane.
Imagine how many hours somebody like that over the course of their life is spent in pool halls.
Yeah.
Even after
not doing
the first movie.
Yeah. You know what I like about this movie is that already, at least, is that it doesn't do the whole Cruise has to go find him in his shack in the middle of nowhere halfway through the movie. I don't know if I want to come back. It's like, no, he's the first subject of the first frame, other than that woman bartender. But
I wish I had me a groupie back in the day who was as interested in me as she was the books that, you know, drove her to insanity.
Yeah.
I love, by the way, that the subtitles are even just showing the music, the lyrics of the music.
Oh, Phil Collins.
There we go.
See? Scorsese's knowing how to get me back in. Like, big Phil Collins fan as well. He's also kind of a jerk, but, you know. When you got a voice like that, you know, whatever.
What Levi's saying, if you got a voice like that, burn the whole society in the ground. Who cares? Like,
Not
you got
really,
carte blanche
but-
to do whatever you want.
No, but, you know.
But.
That with that music, though.
You know, thinking of seeing Turturro, of course, brings to mind the Coen brothers. And then brings to mind that Tom Cruise and the Coen brothers never worked together.
Oh, they got like the same chairs as in the first movie, where like sitting up off the ground like that.
Yeah. But I guess from the Coen's perspective, you already got George Clooney in your back pocket. You don't necessarily need Tom Cruise. But I know they're very different actors, but in terms of stars.
He's thinking, one more night, like.
How about I win no money, you win, I'll throw you 20. How?
He's out.
Alright, Roman, who's next? Nobody. Hey, excuse me, you wanna play me? Your girlfriend. No, one game. I'll spot you 7-8.
He's just addicted to the life already.
Sure.
20 a rack.
500 a rack.
Dude, are you serious? Yeah.
Got that fat stack.
I never kid about money. I never kid about its color either.
The Tron arcade game. I'm talking about a movie that puts you to sleep right there. I think I've talked about this before on here. Have I? I
What?
think we did the Tron story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so, but go ahead and tell it again anyway. Make sure.
Well, on the UNCW campus, every year they have a kind of a 24-hour movie marathon where they just show movies back to back to back for 24 hours. And I don't remember what year it would have been. One of them
No, hustling.
was it was like at 1 or 2 in the morning. Tron, which is, if you're seeing that for the first time, the absolute worst time to see that, because you need your mental faculties to be at a decent place, because the visual style of the movie is so different that if you just get lost in that and you have no clue what's going on. Anyways, at some point in the movie, halfway through, 2/3 of the way through, character yells, "Tron is dead." And it was just quiet for a second, and somebody yelled, "When did that happen?"
Yeah.
And like those who were awake were laughing, but it was.
Well, you know.
I did stay up for the 24-hour Harry Potter marathon. Me and Ian Fincham did, roommate. We felt like death though the next day. Anyways, he's now starting to hustle her.
How about I take you guys out for dinner tonight?
What if instead of saying it like that, he's like, no, you said this.
You know the last time Julia lost?
Just a game, man. It's balls in the stick. Balls in the stick. 9 ball's not that tough. Do you know what's tough? Stalker.
This is a good time just looking at Tom Cruise to bring up Ben Stiller's various impressions of Tom Cruise.
Oh,
over the
yeah.
years. Is really funny. There's one he did for like SNL, I think, in the late '80s. That's based off of The Color of Money.
Oh, that's right. I
specifically,
forgot
like,
about that, yeah.
It was really funny.
10 years from now, I can get West Point. That's when I can do something. It's all coming down to video game reflexes. I mean, computerized tanks, Star Wars, you know that movie? I mean, 10 years from now, a guy...
You ever heard of that movie?
One time, yeah.
Star Wars? I ain't never seen it. I don't know. Nope, don't know. Nope. The color? That's the color of money.
See, back in Newman's day, they didn't have them video games and them.
See, back in my day,
Wars.
money was green. Now it's green.
It's off green.
But is he a born loser?
Not what I said, kid. I said you are a natural character. You're an incredible flake. That's a gift. These guys spend half their lives trying to invent something like that. You walk into a pool room with that go. The guys will be killing each other trying to get to you. You got that. But I'll tell you something, kiddo. You couldn't find big time if you had a road. Pool excellence is not about excellent pool. It's about becoming something.
Yeah.
Like what?
A student. You gotta be a student, a human.
Gotta be a student of that color of money.
Students are human.
You have to smell the money.
Students and humans.
That's my area.
This would be one of a handful of movies I'd want to have smell-o-vision or smell-o-rama for. Because between like the dirty, grubby bills and the pool halls and the cigars and the
John Waters' film Polyester did that very famously, and I don't know if they put one of those out for the Criterion or not. With that would be, I would think they might have, but I don't know for sure. But it actually kind of worked. I had a DVD of it from UNC Wilmington. They had one, and it actually kind of worked, and it was weird. It was a weird experience.
What is it, like a scratch and sniff kind of thing?
And it like flashes on the screen a number, which is very tacky, but that movie's already pretty weird. But
And I just missed it by a couple of seconds. What about the bet? Yeah. Check for the meal sets. I'll leave with her in 2 minutes.
Okay, ready, go. Now, I'm counting.
I know this is gonna sound crazy, but would you come outside and take a look at my car? Yeah.
okay, not creepy at all.
Yeah.
For a second, will you? Human moves, kid. You study the watch. But I study you. You get the check. Excuse me. Cab's on me.
What a frame that.
Yeah.
I just hated to see us sitting alone at the bar.
That was funny. He knew her anyways.
Yeah. You see, you don't kid a kidder, you know.
I wanted to talk to you about something, but you were busy.
Me? What if Jack Nicholson was playing the Tom Cruise role, but like was supposed to be Tom Cruise's age, like, and they dressed him in like a pinwheel like hat, you know, those like
Yeah.
and like to make him look younger, supposedly, like. That's just a thought I had, you know, but
Well, if they do the remake.
remember there was that movie a couple years ago came out, it was like The Gambler, and it was like,
Well, that's technically a remake of that.
oh, it's
James
the remake.
Caan movie,
Okay, so that makes
which
sense.
is sitting on Criterion.
Yeah, I was
right now,
gonna say
actually.
I didn't actually know
Yeah,
that.
Wahlberg was in the new one.
Oh, by the way, we should have said last week that The Hustler is currently on Criterion.
Oh,
so
well,
we forgot to say
so yeah,
that.
check that out
So,
if
oh
you-
well. Although, I, you know, rarely would recommend you watch any of these movies on streaming, although that's probably how a lot of people do it. Just because I don't know, maybe it'll screw up and not work because streaming sucks. But how are you gonna do it?
I know every one of these we've watched so far we've done DVDs or Blu-rays. So.
We might eventually have to do something streaming wise, but I don't know. We got.
I kind of do really like about this movie how unremarked upon his romance is, or his love interest is. It's like not that he doesn't care about it, but it's just not as much of an importance for him in this movie as it was certainly in the first movie.
What'd you mean last night about money and all that stuff? Like,
another thing is too, our dad used to own a white Cadillac, looks sort of similar to this.
Sit back in the
backyard
and just sit there for years.
Excellence. You think this is that good?
Well, he's got the eye, he's got the stroke, he's got the flick, he's got that dumb cold. Flick on, flick off, I don't know. See, I don't know whether that can be taught, that's not clear. He's got to learn how to be himself.
I mean, Paul Newman, never forget, the voice of Hudson in Cars.
I brought that up last week, but yeah.
He was obviously a very big race enthusiast, I know.
That lady you picked up last night in the bar. You knew her from before, right? And the guy. He probably had his schedule down cold, right? Maybe he works around you somewhere. He's your brother-in-law.
You're a hard broad. What does Vincent see in me?
Wow.
Vincent's the best. That's what he sees in me. Wait, what?
Vincent made us get a place together. You know how we met? My old boyfriend last year got busted breaking into Vincent's parents' house. We met at the police station with me and Vincent.
It's probably Mickey Rourke, by the way, in the universe of this movie, Motorcycle boy.
Vincent's mother's.
He gave that to you.
From the robbery. Vince says his mother has one just like it.
Wow. No, he's sweet. Like,
Vincent's really sweet.
Child World.
World.
Basically like Toys R Us.
I mean, Disney does own this movie. Almost like hearing kids crying in there. That's the most accurate moment in any movie I've ever seen. Is like,
It is 3 times better than Taiwan over here. Not 315 off. Yeah, we'll do it. All right, Miss Randall. Hey, it's a good buy. Hey, Lou, would you write them up? I'll split it
Vince.
15 off, all right? Thank you. If you ever need anything, Vincent, okay? Okay.
Thanks.
Mr. Felson, what can I do you
Mr.
for?
Delson.
Eddie is okay. In fact, just plain Ed, if you want.
Ed. Fast Ed.
Is there someplace private we can talk?
There's going to be a 9-ball tournament end of April in Atlantic City. There's a lot of action there. I think we ought to go.
Wait.
Yeah, me, you, and Carl.
Yeah. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Best part of doing leave tomorrow.
Tomorrow. When I leave today. What is it with this guy?
He says,
hair,
what
by
is
the
it
way.
with this guy? Like he's talking that there's somebody else there. It's like, no. Yeah, that hair.
We're going to throw an interview at the very end of this that Tom Cruise recently gave, talking about his experience working on this movie.
Yeah.
And he talked about his hair getting blown out the way it was. He said certified for 90 miles an hour, he said. It's like very like motorcycle, protected hair,
Yeah.
basically.
You think so? That's funny. I don't think so. I think it's your problem.
What is it?
You're hooked on Carmen, aren't you?
all the best conversations happen, behind the scenes at a retail joint.
A child retail,
Yeah.
like a toy store.
Yeah, but I mean, we're veterans of Target. So,
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
all the conversations I've had there behind closed doors.
it is really weird to like. You've been in retail places your whole life growing up, and then to work in one where it's like all those doors you were never meant to go behind.
Yeah.
Well, now you get to go.
And it's like, and what's back there? Nothing
Bunch
really.
of junk.
Yeah, like that first little bit though, it did feel like this power trip to like I get to walk wherever I want.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like so juvenile, like.
Do me a favor, will you take care of him?
Okay, guy was throwing the finger, but it's like
Yeah.
it cut to
Yeah.
him blowing in his hands. Basically, you didn't really see it.
Listen, you know where to find me if you want to talk. Don't worry about
Jukebox playing loudly. Yeah, I'll
you.
say.
It'd be really cool to have a jukebox with actual singles in it.
Anybody ask, I'll be in the back.
It pained a program though, probably.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what we were talking about yesterday. I just want to ask you some questions.
Somebody on YouTube once said, "Who is you?" I don't even remember what that was.
This is something to think about. If we're talking about the color of money or hustler universe, whatever happened to his first kind of manager staker guy?
Oh,
I'm
I'm sure he's long dead.
Yeah,
I mean, we never got that answered in the first movie, so
yeah, right.
No. This isn't for me. I don't know who this is for. This is,
I think Jackie Gleason was still alive when this movie came
Yeah,
out.
because they were kind of wanting to get him into the movie. Because supposedly, I was looking about this earlier. You know what the novel sequel was about? The Color of Money? Supposedly, it was like Eddie saw a Minnesota Fats lookalike on TV playing pool. And decided to go find the real one and get him to go on like a tour and play. And that's the story.
So weird.
Yeah, or something. But yeah, I think it was supposedly they were kind of trying to get him to appear, but I don't remember if it was because Gleason didn't want to. I think it was that they just couldn't fit him in or something. So, because obviously, supposedly, this whole project started as like Newman kind of wanted to do a sequel, and that Scorsese was picked to do it along with Price to adapt it.
Yeah, he had said in the Schickel book that Paul Newman had wrote him a letter talking about how much he loved Raging Bull and that he wanted to work with him or something.
Mm-hmm.
I said I was talking to Carmen the other night, feeling her out.
A thought just occurred to me, just like, what if this same movie had been made, but Eddie Murphy would have played the Tom Cruise role in terms of like they're nearly the same age and like added a whole other racial dynamic to this coupling. It could have been interesting, but I'm no huge Eddie Murphy fan, by the way. I think he's okay, but especially these days of the SNL days. Just a thought.
Where's Carmen, my girlfriend? She just went to the bathroom.
Balabushka. A babushka? Like.
Where'd you get a Balabushka?
Eddie Felsen gave it to me.
Eddie Folsom gave you a Balabushka?
Yeah.
It's a pretty good gift. You know what that's worth?
Yeah.
The guy died about 10 or 15 years ago. So
Oh, yeah.
Collector's item by now.
Yeah.
People think he's dead.
Yeah.
Some people, I guess.
Totoro lurking in the background.
Indistinct. I wonder if he was saying like, my favorite Led Zeppelin's album is actually Presence, by the way. And then walks away and she's like, what? And like their penultimate album.
I'm still currently going through Cheers as we speak, so the '80s bar scene is something I've seen a lot of in that. But
always trying to make it look like she left, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you see my girlfriend, Joe? She went out. Out where? Hey, she's your girlfriend, man.
Hey, Mac.
Everything okay?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
I went to get Sigs.
Sigs.
Cigarettes right here.
Across the street together. So what?
Oh. You needed some fresh air, right?
What's your problem?
Yeah, what is the insanity of all this?
No problem. Did I say I have a problem? There's no problem.
It's funny how easily he was able to manipulate all this
Yeah.
into this. It's just like, oh, by the way,
Sit down now. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I might go to the bathroom again in about a half hour. Is that okay?
That's great.
Yeah, be sure and tell me when, though, okay?
Hey, look. I just didn't know where you went, all right? I was looking for you. Let's not make a federal production out of this.
federal production.
federal production.
Okay.
Sounds like what Samuel Fuller said that they did to that German co-production in
American Friend.
American Friend. Won't say that out loud
Yeah.
what he said, but
We'll probably talk about that eventually.
yeah. We'll kind of let it play and you'll hear
Yeah.
it. Or not hear it, I don't know. You'll know. Or if you already know, like, you know.
Playing pool, breaking the ball's always been my least favorite things because I feel like I don't never do it good enough.
So are you supposed to get these in the order? That,
Yeah,
like-
this is
Yeah, this is
an 8 ball.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is a different type of pool than even the first game was. So, or I mean the first movie, ain't a game.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about pool. It's all variations of the
Yeah.
same skills. I mean, you
Yeah.
know what I mean.
I've been thinking about it. Just do it, okay?
The master manipulator.
Yeah, he's like, ooh yeah. Meanwhile-
I love when a big bad jazz standard plays.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Wonder what's upstairs. There might be something soft for you to lean against.
Scorsese loves mirrors. Like there's
Yeah.
a lot of shots in his movies you wouldn't even know are mirrors, and there are. I mean, especially some scenes in Cape Fear. Like
Yeah.
he plays with them a lot.
That's a very like 70s, 80s gaudy thing to
Yeah.
do, which obviously De Palma did extensively in Scarface, but you
Yeah.
know, just all this like glass and yeah.
Well, he's just hanging around everywhere.
Yeah.
Like you can tell he wants to be the cruise
Yeah.
type.
I think he was gonna be,
Yeah.
but
You're gonna be around Monday that the guy got set up in Kansas?
No, I'm gonna be out of town for a couple of weeks.
So him like referring to the fact that he's on cocaine. You know,
Take that guy in the
Scorsese probably could have related to that about 10 years
Yeah.
before.
guy's a chump. What did you do? Beat me one night. I put the 9-ball both your asses. Are you serious? Taking him on the road? When was the last time you did the road? 1960? They didn't even have cars then. Banging his girlfriend? Bang? Tell me.
You are the best, Huey.
Let me play him again tonight. When he gets in the car.
No, you're the best, Huey.
No, hey, you're not the only steak horse around. You know that? I'll see you there, man. Okay? Don't look too hard for me, okay?
okay. Goodbye.
Hey, we are going to the Bahamas. I just didn't say when.
Appreciate hearing about it from that dope fiend.
What if I get in the road and it doesn't work
I really wish Turturro was credited as that dope fiend.
That guy sucks, man. So do you. Like,
But let me do it my way.
Do it any way you want to do it, Eddie.
Yeah, what I want is I just want to go on the road. I don't want to tell anybody.
Fine. You got anything that you need at my apartment, you'll find it in a suitcase out front, okay?
Hey, waiter.
so he's thinking like, is this worth it? Like,
Yeah.
he just I'm a psychopath. Like, I'm sorry.
Man, he said it in a while. Just say again, what a handsome man Paul
Yeah,
Newman was.
he really
you know?
is. I felt like he got even more handsome as he got older.
I mean, yeah,
Like,
he was already a handsome guy, young, but especially as he aged, I think.
I mean, Carmen, like,
You know, Scorsese's really sweated over what poster do we gotta have there.
Well, that is her name also.
Yeah.
So.
But he probably has in-depth thoughts about the movie too.
So who's the heaviest guy?
What do you ask that for? I'm the heaviest guy, right, Eddie?
It doesn't make any sense. It goes in streaks. The balls are all funny for everybody, kiddo. There is this guy, Grady Seasons. He's making the most money straight up on paper, but that doesn't mean anything.
Grady Seasons.
The real money's in the practice room. That's where you get a good game. The guy can get wiped out on the first day of the tournament and hang around the practice room for a couple of days and make more money than the guy who won the tournament.
You hear that? Practice room.
Hey, watch the paint.
Oh,
Is that metal on your jacket?
I'm sorry about that.
It's like steak just went up 5%.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's funny that obviously this is kind of a road movie too, but
Yeah.
because actually the first one's less of a road movie than I'd remembered.
Yeah.
I don't want sausage.
That's a dead giveaway.
What is?
Another 4-on-2.
Egg talk.
She was the killer waitress at the Acropolis.
Yes.
And she made them a favor and quit.
What do you think? He's the only one who has to work?
I'm sick of this piddly crap. Like, I'm not 5 years old. Like,
Actually, somebody retired me. Sometimes you get in with the wrong kind of people, you know. But hey, that was a long time ago. Back east, dead and buried. I don't even think about it.
Yeah, I bet.
I don't even think about it at all. Like,
I never sit up at night and think about it. Not one night.
really, I don't. Believe me, okay?
I swear.
I swear to God, I don't think about it.
Besides, there's drugs now. You know, kids are playing a coke, speed. I don't know. When I was younger, it was booze.
Yeah, we know.
Somehow it was more human.
Booze.
So, since Minnesota Fats wasn't in this movie, do you think he was alive at this point? I would say
Maybe
no.
he was going through his own cocaine phase. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
I would guess no. By the way, but
Masters tournament you can play in. I mean,
yeah, hitting some coke, going to Bob Evans. I mean,
Bob Evans. You know, I've eaten at a Bob Evans once in my life. I went to one in
was it
Nashville.
a fulfillingly
Not
mediocre
real.
experience?
Yeah, yes, I'd say. Yeah, pancakes. They were burnt. Like, I don't know. I don't remember. But it was a real nothing experience.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hey, you know, we're just
this thing was in like Nashville. It was like right near the Grand Ole Opry. Randomly is where it was, and it was just like, okay.
the best is the guy with the most. That's the whole show. The best is the guy with the most in all walks of life.
Are you the best liquor salesman?
You betcha.
Crank that volume.
Such a Scorsese moment. The 9-ball is all about, or whatever he was talking about. Like, I don't know. Wine, beer, liquors.
This place is an all-time classic. Hey, hey, hey. Put that key stick in the trunk.
what am I gonna play with?
Play with a house key. Go in there with that, nobody will come near you with a nickel.
So we need the bowling version of this movie, you know?
Yeah, the bowling circuit.
Don't get in my approach. Like,
You don't really hear about bowling hustlers the same way you do with pool, but they
Yeah.
have to be out there. I mean,
yeah. Whoops. Until they're laughing, that's like a real, like, moment of sorrow for him.
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't bring you Malamushka, huh? 60%? Are we gonna divvy this up in the car? Enough.
man, what the Lincoln Tap Room used to be, you know? Oh, this guy.
who's that?
Just some random Freak Show.
Oh.
They found her. I just remember he's got the hat and the way he sounds like.
What the hell are you doing? Beat him, he's gonna get out of here. I can't take this guy's money. He's got a hole in his throat. So what? You guys breaking my heart, man. Look at him. He looks like he's on his last legs. What is it so far? $60? It's not 15. How big to you?
He's like, I will kill you if you don't do this. Like,
And then I'll kill him.
yeah.
They're gonna keep on dumping like this. Unless. Show me. Come, make it a real performance. Show me you can dump like a professional.
Dump like a professional. The Anthony Scaramucci story. You know?
Wow. The mooch.
Can't wait for his biopic.
What happened with the car? You just bring it around front. Head it that way.
Or he's already planning. Like,
Just do what I tell you.
look at that door made no sound. That room, by the way. Oh, they're just gonna leave him. Yeah. Looks like a shot from Casino or something.
Yeah. He's got the money, so
Yeah.
It's gonna turn into a Mean Streets Pool Hall situation.
Oh yeah.
See where they went? Where'd they go? It looks like they left. Hey, relax. Take it easy. What's the matter with you guys, man? Get your fucking hands up. Oh, come on. I'm gonna get your money. What are you doing?
I love how all these other people were just playing their own game, and then they're like, "Oh, fight going on. We gotta help out. We gotta be there."
He watched for a little bit though.
Yeah.
That music. By the way, I'm going to partially tell a high school story here. There's just one time, the only time I really definitively saw a fight in high school, which I know seems like that, you know, like people are like, what, you didn't see that many? It was actually kind of a rarity for me to see, at least, but it was at the end of lunch one day of my senior year, I remember. And it happened, and I wasn't that far away from it, and like other people had left. Most of the lunchroom had cleared out, and I remember just standing there in shock, knowing not what to do or say. But I remember there was another person who will remain nameless. I'll tell you who it was later, but that we personally know, that had more wits about themselves, and I kind of looked over at them. They were stood there and were watching it for a little while, like almost like he was. And like watched it for a little while, and I could tell that they like had gotten bored with the whole thing, and turned and were like, "Hey, there's a fight going on over here," and like called them over. But there was like a good like 10 seconds where they were just watching it, like, "Oh, what can I see out of this?" And like, yeah. No, I was genuinely so shocked. Didn't even know what to do. But like, yeah, it didn't go on that long, but it was like I know that other person was watching it and had enough wherewithal to say something and didn't. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, that just reminded me of that. But
yeah.
Anyway. I just remember the look on their face. They kind of had their head turned, like they're like, "Oh, like, yeah."
I know what it is, man. Yeah, it's still around. What, it's supposed to move somewhere? Some things never change. Man, I was bad eyes. Hey, enter. Hey, good morning. Come on.
room service in a motel. What? Check out Chalky. Tell your girlfriend to get going. Meet you out downstairs in the lobby.
What about food? I'm starved.
Oh, he still got his Vince shirt.
Yeah.
Don't change the shirt. It's a nice touch. And leave the cue stick. This used to be a nice, average, bad neighborhood. Now look at it.
Well, the place is gonna be like this. I mean, on your pool hall scale of 1 to 10, what do you rate this? 10.
At least this one's got tables.
How you doing?
The song.
Taking number 7 for fast Eddie.
That's probably one of my favorite of his songs.
Reckon I'll go over from way back when. Son of a bitch. What the hell are you doing here? I ain't starting to remember. How long you want it for?
Couple hours. The last time I saw you, you were sleeping up in McGear's.
Sleeping up in McGear's, that's right. Then I started working here for Chalky, so they got scared of the bad elephant.
Not the Chalky White. I'm
No.
guessing, no.
Since then, I've been running
He's been dead for a while up to
Yeah.
this point. Since, I don't know, the 1930s.
Yeah,
like,
50 years.
Yeah.
More than 50.
the Utes 10. Now make this a fresh one.
The early 30s, too. The dirty 30s.
Well, place you got here.
What you doing, Eddie? Stay crossing? You know who you got here to stay crossing for you? This is Fast Eddie Felson. Who the hell are you, the end of the world? Him I'll steer for 15 since he stayed by Fast Eddie. Stay course. What you playing, 9 ball or straight?
We should go back to the motel.
I love that's the moment the movie chose to have the subtitle of "It's in the way that you use it."
Yeah.
Like it's commenting on the scene. It's like what? Like,
Hey, let me give you the scoop. See that guy with a tie pin in his nose over there?
Yeah.
got slow mo Scorsese.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, shit.
Well, him we stay away from because he's the main stick around here. You beat him, scares away that gentleman over there.
Who's he?
That's Earl. If he comes in here, he's got $5,000-$6,000 in his pocket.
Jesus.
Yeah. Runs the numbers. Orville says he don't mind losing, he just don't like to give it away. So, you beat Mazel, old Earl over there loses interest.
What happens then?
Nothing for a little while. He'll play over here. He'll be watching you, and he'll come.
Who am I gonna play?
Me.
You. Eddie, but before we go, I want her to go back to the motel.
Christ.
I'm sorry. This place is goddamn perfect.
Look, I've been in worse places. I've dated worse guys.
Come on.
Hey, watch your hands.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough.
You gotta tell me.
Okay, that's enough.
No, these white people, I tell you.
yeah, really.
Carmen.
God damn it.
No thunderbolt breaks, no runs over 4 balls. Just take it.
R&B song playing. Fate stumbles in.
Never went out with any guys like this.
Vincent, will you pay attention? That guy Earl is paying attention. Are you listening?
Yeah. You want me to break you one leg?
Did you saw the legs off this thing? Table for dwarfs or something.
Not fast, Eddie. Let's see some heavy legend action here.
35 balls down there.
When the spark is lit. That's
Yeah.
the first time we see him playing any pool in the movie. So
The first time he has played in 25 years. Like, I will see you again in 25 years moment. Like, was this the Twin Peaks: The Return of Its Day? I mean,
For somebody out there, it was. For the pool hall cinephile crowd, you know.
Yeah.
Good for TV. With a lot of break shot. Oh, no, what the hell? Checker sells more than chess.
Pretty damn good.
Not bad for a blind man. Rack 'em up.
Yes, sir, boss. Rack 'em up for Mr. Facet.
I've played serious pool since before you were born. And right off the bat, I'm
Laying them to waste.
watch this. 9 on the break.
Oh, Jesus!
I tell you, the Mount Zion Baptist pool days were
that
something.
is the most pool I've ever played was in there, actually, in
Yeah.
the youth area. Yeah, we had a pool table, and it's probably thrown away now because
got rid of that building.
well, that whole building's gone now, and they wouldn't have moved it upstairs either. So, but yeah,
Maybe it got moved into the parsonage. I mean, who knows?
who knows what goes on in there? Yeah, but yeah, that's what I was thinking last week. Is that that's the most pool I've ever played in my life was in that room.
Yeah.
Like,
Everybody's doing it.
there were some really good people, like Ronnie Phillips
was really
is
good.
really good. Yeah, so like, there were some people it was good to play against and lose a lot to kind of see good people play, but.
Only one guy can be the best.
Getting pissed. To exit, press 9. Goodbye. He's running.
Yeah. Even he's sensitive about it.
Sorry, smart ass. I was showing off. I'm sorry. All
You
right.
know what this is turning into? What? A waste of my time and a waste of my money.
Where are you going, huh? Eddie, what? You're gonna leave me here? What? I don't believe this guy.
Tell me I'm a good color of money.
Whenever you have to get up to go to school every day, and you're
Yeah.
like, child care. Like,
Is it back?
He's out.
What do you mean not?
Out like not in the room.
Why are you getting dressed?
Why are we going to?
Guy comes into the room. What if I was somebody else? What's the point?
Look, I'm not naked or anything.
And another thing. Work with me, not against me. Don't go saying that those are what you said to him at Chalk. He gets them all upset. Use that thing, use it right.
He was referring to remote control or what?
yeah.
Me and you, huh? I like you this hour, huh?
Quick one before Vincent gets back. All right? Hey! I'm not your daddy, I'm not your boyfriend, so don't be playing games with me. I'm your partner. You don't flirt with me, you don't come out with me. Take a shower, you shut the goddamn door.
Don't flatter yourself.
Don't waste my time with bullshit, Carmen.
Meanwhile, the TV.
Yeah.
Like,
Resource. Thoroughbred. You make him feel good, I teach him how to run. Do you understand? We're business people. Where's the Balabushka?
He took it.
You said he was out.
Yeah, he was in, he was out.
Took the cue stick?
Yes.
And you let him?
So what?
It's like when it's the same thing with bringing one of them in. It's like when you're at the bowling alley and you see somebody roll up with their own shoes and their own bag and their own bowling ball. Like, you know, they're in their own gloves.
I might be that person eventually. I don't know. They're playing that song again? Man, they really like that song there. I must be the DJ there or something. What's going on? Like, Scorsese wanting to use that Clapton money up, you know?
Good game.
What you got in there?
Here? Doom.
And it's like a video game cartridge of Doom.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's play. We're gonna have a lot of fun.
So creepy, like.
I think this is one of the most known moments of this movie is this scene.
Also, what's funny, the American Werewolf in London wasn't able to get this song to use.
Right.
But, yeah. Famously. So it's funny that then it would be used in this song. Like, okay. Or in this movie, I'd rather, but. This movie would be used in this song.
Yeah, to me, this song is tied to the insanity of Tom Cruise in this movie in terms of how overworldly confident he is in this scene. You know?
That's such a Scorsese sound moment, you know. Like,
who knows? Who knows? Thelma maybe was like,
maybe she was like, "No, we need that." Yeah. Yeah, I guess it goes without saying we didn't mention that Thelma Schumacher edited this because she edits all his movies. So you know, but
she worked on the Woodstock movie too, right? I think,
that would have been probably obviously when they first worked together or one of the first.
I think it would have been in the late 60s.
So he basically co-directed that movie but didn't get the credit. Never forget him dancing at that BET Awards thing or whatever.
Oh gosh, yeah. It was when
Mission
Impossible 3.
We would put the audio of that there, but you wouldn't be able to see it. So it's like,
yeah, you gotta see it. Just look it
He's
up.
just like, I basically did it, but you can't see it. So
That boy's hot.
Oh, Earl.
I made money.
You lost money. The town is dead for you. Now what the hell is it? Do I not speak your native language? What is the matter?
You give me the stick, okay? And then you tell me to lay low. I mean, the goddamn thing, I lay it down, it just jumps up at me, man.
You don't deserve the stick.
I don't deserve this. You don't deserve this stick. All you do is you sit in there, you talk, you know, you tell me things. You see me there tonight, I play. I'm a fucking pool player, Eddie.
Whoa. Foul mouth.
wait a minute, is this rated R?
I'm a fucking animal.
Okay.
Vincent, get in the car. This is embarrassing. You're acting like some girl got thrown up in a drive-in.
I wonder what people passing by this situation would have think, you know?
Yeah.
It's like,
And there's like a camera on the car.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're talking about in real life?
yeah, well,
or like-
in the context of the scene,
Yeah.
like the world of the movie.
Walk into a shoe store with $150, you come out with one shoe. We were working on 5,000. Come on. Get it. It's cold.
And that's the classic thing about the hustling game is, especially as a young person the learning the art of restraint, which is what he's trying
Yeah.
to teach him here. That you can beat anybody, but you want to build up to hustling people into think the top guy can play and he'll win. But
It just ain't worth it. Either I don't teach you right, or you don't listen. Or you listen, but you don't hear. What was that voodoo stuff? That wasn't pool, that was a circus. Drop your pants. You want to get down? Good. You and Gypsy Rose Lee. I can always go back to whiskey. It's been very good to me. I mean, you're sitting in it and I'm wearing it. But it's tired. It's just kind of run off. All of a sudden you appear in a scene, I'm jumping again. You remind me that money won is twice as sweet as money earned. 25 years ago I had the screws put on. I mean, it was over for me.
sounds like a line that Frank Costello in The Departed would say. Nicholson's
Yeah.
character is also a corrupting presence over
Yeah.
Damon's. Is very reminiscent in terms of this relationship. Different kind of resolution between those two characters, but similar in its own way as well.
Tell me what you want to do. Give me a clue.
I'll try. I'll really try. Let's go for it. Eddie, it's just tough for me to lay down. It's just I get in there and it's just tough. It's just tough to lay down. I'll try. Okay?
Tough to lay down. Well, roll over, sweetheart. Give me.
What?
$90. 60% of 150 is $90. I was young. Well, do you want to hang on? Are you still pissed off? I understand.
You can hear the hustling even in his phone
Yeah.
conversations he does with people.
What kind of rent are you paying? I said, what kind of rent?
Was that, I'm having nightmares, sweats. What kind of rent do you pay?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, listen. After the Bahamas, maybe you could move in with me, just for practice. What do you mean? No, nothing's going on. What are you, a shrimp? I miss you. I say nice things to you. Fine. A couple of curveballs every now and then. They're young. They're kids. No, you're perfect.
I always have remembered that scene. Actually, that's been really funny. It's like that the conversation's all over the place. It's like,
Yeah.
What's the focus of the conversation
Yeah.
at any given moment changes. Like,
You ever hear of a hustle called Two Brothers in the Same?
Yeah, that's the guy in the Bible with the many color coats, right? Hey, I'm joking, you guys. Come on.
Did I get through to you last night, kid? Because if I didn't, I'll run it by you anyway. If you'd have kicked ass in any other place but Chalky's, Atlantic City this weekend, guys never leave the street. Otherwise, it would be all around.
Hey, let me tell you something. Last night, people never talked to me like that before. They really talked to me. I just want you to appreciate it.
Okay?
Okay.
okay. Okay.
I wonder to what extent he's hustling him by doing that.
Yeah.
Who hustles the hustler? That's the third movie.
Give me 2 hours and they're building me a trophy wall in there. Huh?
Look at that kid. He gets to have all this.
All right, who's next? You guys, you want to play? No? Anybody? You want to play? What about you? You want to play? Good. Spikes in the grave here. Come on, spikes in the grave. How about it? Hold the center wall. Set out. How about the eight? I'll give you the eight. Come on, the eight, the break, what do you want, all right? You up? Let's go.
I just love the part of this hustle is the idea that they're just like a richer guy just coming in and giggling and drinking,
Yeah.
watching somebody else play. Just
Yeah.
some of that deeply hilarious to me. It's like what a profound waste of time that
Yeah.
is. Like
That guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Must be a Chicago area,
Yeah.
character actor.
What? Excuse me? I said, do you mind? I mean, it's a money game here, guy, okay? Yeah, that's right, a big money game. So why don't you take your hands off the girl and let us play, okay, guy?
What do you care where I put my hand? It's a mind your own business.
Hey, Gramps, put your teeth back in, get your hands off your daughter there, and pay attention. You just might do something here today.
Don't change my teeth, you change your goddamn diapers.
Hey,
Really? What are you playing for? What's it to you? What are you playing for? 50. You want to win? I'll bet $500 on this guy right here.
huh?
I think you're a choker, kid. $500 says you choke right now.
Why don't you take a walk, asshole?
Anybody want to bet $500 the kid chokes? Come on, what are you starting trouble? I'm not starting any trouble. Come on, any takers?
Eddie, I'm gonna leave.
Any takers? This guy's a jerk.
You want to go for 1,000?
What do you think? Hey, Vincent, what the hell is the matter with you?
Have a good time, huh, Eddie?
I'm a little disappointed in you, frankly.
Frankly, your ass! I see you, man.
Seen
Don't
what?
give me that. I
Seen what?
see you.
Seen what?
Screw this. You know what I mean? I don't need this. I'm going. I'm going home. Come on. Who the hell I am?
Going home alone, man.
Oh, is that
Home
right?
Alone.
Now I'm going home alone. Yeah, what's
Home Alone also in the Chicago metropolitan area.
exactly what I'm
Vincent,
doing.
Vincent, you go in that face, you play your part. It's nice, huh? I put my hands on her, I'm playing a part. It's acting.
Your hands are all over her,
I'm
Eddie.
acting. It's acting.
See, really, this is a movie about acting.
Yeah.
The parts we play.
What do you think? They go home together? They're professionals, Vincent.
We're just trying to be professional.
Okay, you guys. It was just a little rough, okay? I mean, I got used to that.
Vincent, Vincent the kid. Huh? You are going to be one of the greats, kid. One of the greats. I got a good feeling. Yeah?
Blues song playing.
We got ourselves a montage.
Man, like.
Yo, the upholstery dog, like, don't bobble me, dog. Like, oh, there's Iggy Pop, by the way.
Yeah.
I knew he was somewhere in this.
I'd forgotten that.
I mean, Iggy Pop, hanging specs forever. This podcast.
Yeah. A theme, if you will.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very Iggy Pop moment, so.
Wearing an Attack
Wow.
of the 50-Foot Woman shirt.
I love that man. Not really, like.
He's giving an audio commentary of what movie? Citizen
Black
Kane,
Narcissus.
maybe?
I don't know.
Some Scorsese favorite. If you give Scorsese a good, clean 30 seconds to talk about anything, there's at least a 33% chance Powell and Pressburger movies will be mentioned. You know.
And 67% on John Ford.
Mm-hmm. Those are the only two options. That color.
That color.
I smell a color. So we're moving on up the circuit.
Did you just hear that lyric? A starless black sky will be somewhere in America. Like, okay. What, did a beat write this? Like, that's the guy.
This guy vaguely looks like John C. Reilly, I think. Specifically in Boogie Nights.
Yeah, kind of.
Grady Seasons. That's such a awesome character name.
Yeah.
Unfathomably great. Grady Seasons.
I love the name Grady. Like, we knew
it was Shady Grady.
We knew a Grady. You think he's still alive?
Doubtful. Maybe.
He wasn't that old, though. I mean, he was like middle-aged when we knew him.
Yeah, it's been a while, though.
Yeah, it's been about 20 years, so.
His nickname was Shady Grady.
I don't know. I have to ask around about that.
Now, Tokyo Bowman is no longer
Oh,
with us.
yeah.
That Bogart movie, Tokyo Joe, I think.
Cotton Eye Joe. There have been moments in this book I'm having to read to one of my English classes where it'll ask a lot, where are you coming from and where are you going? And I want to say, you know, the eternal Cotton Eye Joe question. But frankly, the book's too serious to joke about such a thing, so I never do it. But guy looks like he's out of the 70s. Like.
Yeah. And then later on, he quotes all this
I
same
say
stuff
that
back to him.
when I give kids their progress reports this week. Like,
Yeah.
It's a nightmare, isn't it? But hey, the best part is they can make it up. That what will you do?
You choke now. It's not that hard a shot. say don't choke me? Yeah, you heard me. Yeah. Yeah, I heard you.
That was a real. Did you challenge my AWS?
Yeah. Uh-oh. There's a waking the beasts in one another.
Hey, Granny. Up your ass with the spot, okay with you? That's fine with me.
Wow, that's the most Scorsese
Yeah.
few seconds ever. Like,
Yeah, I've been here before. Hours at a time.
25 hours.
That's what I think about, like I said earlier, with the amount of hours he's had to spend in pool
Yeah.
halls in his life. I think about that a lot with baseball managers.
Oh yeah.
Like these old crotchety, they're in their 50s and 60s. You see major league guys, like how many hours of their life they've been sitting watching people play baseball. Just like crazy.
This goes all the way back to like T-ball. Too.
Oh yeah, I mean their whole lives. Yeah,
Yeah.
everything. Like it's their whole life.
He's on the screen twice right now. Like,
That's why he won the Oscar. He played 2 performances in
yeah.
that shot.
You win one more game, you're gonna be humping your fist for a long time.
whoops.
She's also becoming the master.
You know what I really wish would have happened is if after she said that they would have cut to him looking like he was earlier, where he was like that, and like watching her saying that. It's been so weird. Like, be like, yeah, she's learning too. Like, so like girls can play too. Like,
Girls know that color money too.
okay.
He had to lose because he didn't want to be humping his fist for a month or whatever. Oh, these children. I love it's set up like a trophy or like a shrine in the room.
Want me to go with you? Yeah, I'm mad at me, right? Last night. No, you come do it. Where's he going? He's going to do it. Yeah.
Okay. That Robbie Robertson score.
He's been reawakened.
Like a Brainiac clone has been activated. That was Richard Price. I kind of wondered if he was going to have a cameo in this or not, because
Well, this is the older guy circuit here.
Yeah, the real peeps.
Yeah. But yeah, I've not really seen much of what he looks like. So
he looks like that now, but older.
Yeah.
One more time? Absolutely.
Dud.
Remind me a lot of a guy I played about 20 years ago. As a matter of fact, it was right after that 5 of us went on a road trip to San Antonio. We didn't get the action. The wind-up was all 5 of us ended up playing each other. Nice book, though.
Buy you one?
Yeah, I'll buy you one. I want to play for a while.
It's crazy. I mean, I was working at this job, busted my butt for about a year and a half. They didn't give me a raise. So my old lady, she leaves me because she says I'm a bum, because I quit. Then after I get this job working at the university, strictly for the experience. Guess what it was?
What?
What?
Well, what were you?
I was a subject.
What?
A subject in the psych department. I was a
The old Forrest Whitaker eye. Ghost dog himself.
Yeah.
memory things. So if I didn't do anything when I got the electric shock, well, I did this once, but I just did that for the experience, so it don't count. Thank you.
Maybe you didn't see it right. I mean,
Yeah.
Okay. That's 80.
Do it again?
Yeah, sure, I don't care.
Double or nothing?
Double or nothing.
What is there, an echo in here?
Hey, let's just do it, all right? Let's play. Eddie, how you doing?
Holding my own, a little bit of hate.
Big man.
Here.
I wonder what his liver looks like.
yeah, that's a good question.
Are they playing 8-ball?
It might be, yeah.
Do it again.
Double or nothing?
What else?
That is bullshit! I never did that. That is luck, man.
Hustler, the next generation.
Yeah.
9-ball fell.
You're a hustler, Amos?
Come on, Andy. Look.
You're a hustler.
Have you seen the movie I was in?
If you don't want to pay me, keep it. Forget it. I don't want no bad feelings. When a guy loses, I lost, I paid.
You're a hustler, Amos?
You a book of the Bible, Amos?
Amos, always one of them good time books of the Bible, you know.
Double it again.
Yeah, I want to ask you
It's a lot of Wendy's drive-thrus right there.
Yeah.
I think I need to lose some weight.
The hustler got hustled. It's one of those classic situations like it's easy to coach someone else, but then
Yeah.
when you're doing it again, you get suckered into it. And you,
Hold your ass like that. Everything gonna stack. Everything just by a little too much booze. A little too cocky. Right about a jerk. You miss all those fucking signals.
This has to be probably among the earliest times I've ever seen Forrest Whitaker in anything. Also.
Yeah.
Should have wiped the floor with that guy.
Yeah, so?
How much would you need to go from here to Atlantic City? A couple thousand?
So he's in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I've still never seen that. So, in Vision Quest and Platoon, same year as this.
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen Platoon in a great many years.
I have just a few years ago, but I didn't remember that.
But again, Oliver Stone was kind of a disciple of Scorsese's. He taught at NYU for a while when Stone was there. Same with Spike Lee.
That's it, that's all. What are we supposed to do? Where are we supposed to go from here?
Well, here is you. See, here is Atlantic City. In between is about 27 pool halls. 3 weeks, a couple $1,000. What the hell else you need? An Indian guide? Use your brains.
Why are you talking to us this way, huh?
I mean, some guy comes in here and plays you for a chump, so you walk out on us? I mean, come on, we'll get this guy next time, Eddie. Hey. You do this to somebody else. You don't do this to me. What about all the stuff you told me? You know, what we talked about, me and you, huh? Now you're gonna ruin everything here. You told me about that. Okay, look, Eddie, look, hey, it's my attitude, right? Okay, from now on, Eddie, I swear to you. No,
You always do what you want to do.
Don't tell me
If
that,
I say
Eddie.
you do this, you do
Don't
that.
tell me that. I try to do everything. I try to do everything that you tell me to do.
You don't need me. Take the money, huh? It's the last thing I got left to give you.
Let it go, Vincent.
You want to give me money and get rid of me.
You're young, kid. You got a long way to go.
You want to give me money and give me money, because this is nickel and dime shit you've been
I'll
giving
give you money, but don't you tell me what I'm about.
Shut up and give me money.
Make it 3,000. It's our money.
Yeah,
It's
give me
right.
what I got. And money anyway.
I'll give you what I got.
You know something? Just keep your fucking money, pal.
What? Like,
He's on his own again. Free agent.
what will he do?
He's got to go through his Rocky training montage soon now.
Look at how dirty that floor is.
Getting back to basics. He's got to feel the table. Got to become one with the table.
Feel good, don't it? I'm blind. Oh, you cool.
Cool hand look.
Doing some of the Robert Moses.
Yeah.
What? What even is this? Like,
Getting the talent back together.
yeah. Getting the skills back together.
You know you're dealing with a hustler, a real-time hustler who gets like
A hustler.
corrective lens sunglasses. Like,
That's how you train for that? Is that- I guess it's to like get all the angles.
yeah.
past 80 wins you 100. 50 on Moselle and for 25. Well, thanks. That's life. 100 on the side? In my mind. Bracket.
He's got to lose to the old women even.
Wow.
But then he wins it
But he
back.
turns it on.
Yeah.
That's just insane. Like, like king.
Yeah.
Or they are playing 9-ball, I guess.
Yeah.
Obviously, but
Oh, Earl, if he's gonna get in on it.
yeah. For him right now, it's not so much about the color of money as it
Yeah.
is the color of victory.
The power of friendship.
Yeah,
though.
no, I don't think the ending of this movie, especially, is not about friendship. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Guys going to Atlantic City?
True gold. Born rich. Oh, yes, the boardwalk. Never been to Atlantic City.
Nope.
Seen a lot of Boardwalk Empire, though, that's why I said that.
Yeah.
Another Scorsese
The
production.
times they had.
Yeah.
Or no, it was Atlantic City. It wasn't Vegas, obviously, but it's the same thing. I mean,
People gambling, but
yeah. Oh, it looks the same. I mean, not like
not Great Atlantic City.
not
but it's,
outdoors, but
Snake Eyes.
is that Atlantic City?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, yeah, I guess it was. Yeah.
They had the hurricane.
What about the
coming in.
movie Atlantic City?
That's all right.
I haven't seen it. So.
That's Lancaster.
Yeah.
And Susan Sarandon.
That was a Louis Malle movie, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We tried.
You know he's the best guy in there just by looking at him, you know? It's like wearing them glasses, like what even is that? You know, like wow. Heaven.
Yeah. The creme de la creme. You just know Scorsese and Ballhouse.
Yeah.
Scorsese and Ballhouse really love framing this shot and
Oh,
setting
yeah.
this up. That guy with the do-rag.
Like he was disgusted by it.
Yeah.
say hello.
By the way, something I want to remark upon now, it's always funny for me to see really new, like, pool cue, those little, like, things you rub on it.
Yeah, yeah.
What is that, like chalk?
Yeah.
It's always weird to see the new things of chalk because when we played at our church, it was always these really cracked old chalk, and like that's
Never
what we
got
got
replaced,
right.
yeah.
So.
Wouldn't you love to be like, oh, that guy? You can tell he's
Yeah.
big boss man.
You know what's funny about
You
this?
can tell this is the type of guy who has a real big opinion on whether or not Krispy Kreme's bigger than Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what's funny too is that there's that many games going on. It's just like, why would you put them all in the same room?
Yeah.
Like,
Match to Mr. Felson. 11 games to 5.
okay.
I didn't deserve that.
Yes.
Yeah, really. Scumbag. Like, get out.
You didn't deserve that. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
You either won or you lost. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, it's like
Wow.
James Cameron almost in the background.
Yeah. Playing a version of the girl from Ipanema. Like,
Yeah.
this would have been the same year as Aliens, wouldn't it? Or was that 84?
No, 84 was Terminator. So
Right, so no, it was 86.
I think so. Yeah.
That's duh. I couldn't remember when the Well, they made something in 84.
Oh well, here's Beansy from
Yeah.
The Sopranos, and he's in Goodfellas.
You want to see helicopters?
There is no such thing as the act went over. When did you know?
Oh, no, what have you been reading about?
Hey, Carmen, I can win 8 games here. Now don't blow this. Let me play this guy.
No, I know you can. I'm not going to blow it. I just don't like the deal.
What don't you like about it?
I think maybe you should up your end to about
Up my end? Hey.
That's right. $300, Vince, is not going to kill the guy. $1,500.
All right. I'll tell you what, I shouldn't, but I will.
Eddie's in the background.
Yeah.
He's talking.
Sorry, man.
Don't be sorry. It's all right. It's 8:30. We got a few things to do. How about 12:30 in the green room?
12:30. Great.
You can get these, right?
No problem.
We got it covered here. $1,500?
Not bad, huh?
Not bad, huh?
You wouldn't go for more,
You
Vincent.
wouldn't go for more. That guy had $2,000 written all over his face. Now you just gave him $500. You gonna buy his drink too, huh? Thank you.
Why don't you do it yourself next time?
Hey.
He's almost, you can tell, looking at him with pride. Like, oh, some
Yeah.
of my lessons have got through of scumbaggery.
Vance shirt.
Hey. New glasses, huh? They look good.
It's the kid, Carmen.
You feel good today.
So how's it going?
Can't complain. How about you?
$4,000 in 3 weeks. This could have been better, could have been worse.
No, I'm happy for you.
12:30 in the green room. We're gonna take out that lane from Akron. You see what we did? Going in on it?
Well, thanks. Listen, I'll pass up on that. I gotta play at 10 o'clock. I just pack it in right.
It's on you. Good luck tomorrow.
Same to you.
Thank you. I gotta go rest. Give me about 3 hours, okay? 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There you go.
Going good.
Yeah. But you know, you were right, you know, we really didn't need you anymore.
Oh, gee, thanks.
You wouldn't believe Vincent now. Yeah, you really recognize him.
New man.
A Newman. You can tell that's what he was thinking when he had to say
so
that.
that's my name.
He's like, Richard Marty, did I really have to say that? Like, I don't say it or I walk. Like, okay. Like, it's like, nope, you gotta do it. It's like, under contract. Crap. Like,
Oscar on the line. Though.
yeah.
There he is. Back
These
from
are the guys.
Yeah.
Like,
the final four. Not exactly, but Like, imagine paying money to come and watch this though, like as a spectator.
Don't
like,
get my approach. I mean,
how lame that is.
Well, you wouldn't even be able to see. There's too many games
that's
going
what I'm
on.
saying. If there's even one game, it'd be different. But
oh my god, that's just like wow. Well, if you do that long enough, it might go in. Like,
It's like a nightmare, isn't it? You got lucky.
Yeah. Don't get lucky in my approach. Like, it's called sportsmanship.
I found out that guy, bowling
Weber.
guy, go into Ozu or something. You know, just like
a summer afternoon in my
I love
approach.
Japanese cinema.
Right. Good morning.
Wipe your nose, will you, Julia?
Going down.
You coke fiend.
Oh, God damn.
Wow.
Man, it just keeps getting worse and worse, doesn't it? Take it on off. I can't help it.
There's Martin Scorsese's dad.
He had to shake his hand, and that guy. I think I've seen something.
I ain't seen Marty's mom in this yet. I don't think she pops up. I can't remember. Somewhere maybe.
There was a guy that looked like Coppola in the crowd there, but
Nervous because I feel good. Eyes feel good. Legs feel great. There's no grief down there. Come on down here and give me some grief. Forget the Bahamas. This is it. Hey, it would be good having you here.
let me look and see. Whoops. Mimicking gunshot.
I'm gonna beat him, you know.
Maybe. Hello, Eddie.
Because she's gonna fist bump it.
Yeah. They say it's better. No spread of germs. Like. That's nice, but I only use house chalk. How can you even tell? Like.
Who will win?
How many games did they do? Just one?
I don't know. No, probably best of so many, I would
Yeah.
imagine.
Because they're both too good to just do one apiece.
Yeah.
Oh. This big moment here.
Yeah.
I think that's that thing I'm thinking about. Let's see. Where he like looks at the cue ball and sees his own reflection in it or something.
No, that's the next
that's
game.
the next game. Okay,
Yeah.
never mind. Couldn't remember. Sorry, I spoiled it, folks.
That's all right. Yeah, because this whole thing ends with the possibility that Vincent threw it so he could go play these outside games, and he kind of thinks and figures that out, and then is playing his next game, and that shot happens, and he walks away.
Yeah.
I mean, what a pull attire, by the way. He's got.
Yeah. All right. Enough of this crap. Don't serve me your crap. Where's my cut of the dough? Where's my 60%? What does that pulled chalk even really do?
I honestly don't know.
Yeah, because I'm like, is it all for show or something? Like,
has to do something actually.
Yeah, because every time I've ever played, I've never seen any difference of like, which I'm no, you know. The pull chalk regulates flow or something like, you know.
Over time, tip of a pull stick becomes worn and smooth from use. Chalk provides the friction necessary to make a shot.
So can't fight the friction.
Yeah.
I mean,
as the trailer for Mission Impossible Rogue, or no?
No,
Ghost
Fallout.
I can't even remember all them subtitles in order.
Well, the ball's a little funny for everybody. I told you that. I mean, you're shooting a great game.
This, to me, coming up the moment of the movie in some ways, where he walks out by himself.
Yeah.
It's like real excited in private,
yeah,
because he's such a man of pride.
And then he comes back in and he's just like,
oh, nothing, but no big deal. But it really did mean a lot to him that he was able to beat him. Obviously, you know, even though he acted like it was just anybody else.
Knocking consistently. That's one of my favorite subtitles I've ever seen. Like,
Hi, guys.
Oh, I'm sorry. Should we come back later?
No, we were just, Janelle's having a glass of champagne. Early, come on in. Listen, I drew this guy Kennedy in the semifinals. You know anything about him? What's that?
It's for you.
Hey, how you doing? It's your cut.
Cut of what?
For the game.
What game?
Our game, man. I dumped. Got a front to lay all 4,000 on you, and then I dumped. All I do is dog about 4 shots, you know. But hey, you know something? You are a very, very good player. I feel shitty about getting booted, but there's other tournaments, right?
Right. You dumped, huh?
Carmen didn't want to go for it, but I told her, hey, you'd appreciate it. I mean, of all people. There's $8,000 in there. After I beat Grady Seasons, the odds between me and him are a joke.
Two brothers and a stranger, they just like you laid it out, you know?
It was beautiful. It was fucking beautiful. When I banked the 5.
you know what's great about this is they could easily be lying about dumping, but he would. The point is that did he really though? It's like the doubt.
Yeah.
$8,000 in there.
What is this jazz?
Green room games for the next 3 nights. These guys, they just won't leave me alone. Are you sure you don't win in this? We're talking about a lot of money.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll call you, okay? Look, good luck with Kennedy, all right?
Yeah, that was just earth-shattering moment for him.
Yeah.
Just like, wow, I didn't really maybe beat him. Like,
And like I said, it doesn't matter of whether or not he did or not. Like, it's like, oh, the doubt of it. Like,
yeah. Which the movie never says, but I think he did. It makes sense he would, because why was he coming up with this money out of nowhere if he wouldn't have? But yeah,
just as revenge tactic.
yeah.
For whatever, I don't know. Normally, I hate the 360 or don't really like the 360, but this is a good version of that. That moment. How do they even get a shot like that, I wonder?
I don't even know. Mirror might have been involved.
Well, they might have just superimposed or something. I don't know, like...
What are you doing?
Forfeit.
Forfeit.
Carlson just forfeited his match.
What do you mean forfeit? You can't forfeit. What's he talking about? What kind of bullshit is
You know, a guy looking like that would be in the semis.
forfeit? I don't win like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't want to win like that, though.
She gone.
The match on table 3 has been forfeited by Eddie Felson.
The guy's so bored saying all that.
Lorenzo
Kennedy is won by default.
So what do you say? Why don't we get the hell out of here? Bahamas looking real good to me. Not now. Anyway, I got out of my lease. All my stuff's in boxes. It's nice. I'm a real big fan of caricaturing people. I don't know if you knew that about me.
Character. Here it comes.
Here it comes. There's Quack Like a Duck once taught us.
Yeah.
Look that one up, by the way. If you
Or
ain't seen
don't,
it.
but-
Or do it, definitely.
Yeah, well.
Vincent says this is yours. You don't want it, you should give it to charity.
What'll that sell?
I don't know. I don't know anything anymore.
I want his best game.
Look, if you want his best game, Eddie, go talk to him yourself.
Who won't listen?
So what, I gotta cover your ass now?
You gotta save it.
Or why should I?
Because I'm going to say, please. The green room. The color room.
The green room?
The color of money room.
Yeah.
The goodie room.
It's the titular room.
I've set it up.
Stings like a bitch, don't it?
Yes, it does.
You're brass, man. I'll give you that. You want my game? You couldn't deal with my game, Jack. You're out, man.
Jack.
I'm asking. I ain't got a leg to stand on, but I'm asking.
Shut up!
Don't do that, kid.
I call the shots. I do what I want to do.
Don't do it. I don't have that many games left.
You used us. You used me.
Yes, I did. But you're in Atlantic City now with the big boys. You're not back there in the stock room playing around with baby dolls. Think about it.
Baby doll.
Come on.
Dusty would say.
The American Dwayne.
The American Dwayne. If you have documents, if you have photos, if you have clues, if you have evidence, if you will.
He should have been recast as, maybe the younger brother or cousin of Minnesota Fats,
Yeah. More like Mississippi Bob or something,
Mississippi
No, I mean
Bob.
Dusty in Memphis.
Yeah.
I mean, after the Dusty Springfield out,
But it's got to be Mississippi Bob, not Mississippi.
Oh, but he's got the girl on his arm.
Yeah.
Which is a hint for something we'll be talking about in only a few moments. But anyway.
See more reflective surfaces.
See more Scagnetti, what? You know what might be the dumbest pun of all time? Seymour Butts. Just really,
That doesn't even really make sense either.
No.
Seymour. You saw some at all?
Just don't put the money in the bank, kid. 'Cause if I don't whip you now, I'm gonna whip you next month in Dallas.
In Houston. There's nothing coming up in Dallas.
Houston, Dallas. And if not then the month after that in New Orleans.
Yeah? What makes you so sure?
this moment. The final moment. The winner's circle moment. That title theme.
Yeah.
I mean, that Color of Money theme.
I know a lot of people consider it a bit of a cop-out that it's like, ooh, it doesn't show who wins. But you know what I say to them? Audiences won,
Yeah.
Like, that's the real winner here. That is, I mean, I don't even know who...
Dud. Grady Matthews. There's a lot of Grady in this movie.
Who would even really win? I mean, I don't know. It's like, depend on, I guess...
Iggy Pop. Skinny player on the road.
Guy who calls Dud Richard Price.
Wait, really?
That's what it said.
Wow.
Guy who calls Dud.
Dog Walkby. Zoe.
Amos.
Stunts. Well, I like that better, I have to say. I'm still not that crazy about it, but...
Sure.
Because I still feel like... It's not necessarily as messy as I remember, but it feels like... I feel like there should have been a little more early on about him maybe using this opportunity to get back in the game secretly.
Right.
And kind of, oh no, I'm going to use this to get my way back in. That would have been more interesting, I think. Which is ultimately what it is, but I feel like that's not conveyed enough.
I think at first in the movie it's about, I've been seeing him play a lot. I just want to play, honestly, for, I don't know if fun's the word, but just for recreation while we're doing this.
Yeah.
And he kind of gets hot very briefly and then has this he was hustled and breaking moment. And it embarrasses him. And Vincent saw it. And he then pushes him off of like, well, I don't want to be around y'all anymore.
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, what else has he really got going for him at that point? And so it's like he's already kind of put himself on the road to coming back, and that like in some ways it's not actually until he kicks Vincent out that it really he's like, this is what I'm going to do, go back to. So it's like it's not like a one single moment. I think it's kind of a dominoes that fall, Derek and the dominoes, you could say, that fall to get us there. But
walk on the wild side. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty good.
Again, what strikes me is it's third or fourth tier Scorsese, but it's still for me as good as it is, which speaks to him. But this isn't one of the more remarked soundtracks of his, but it is. Really,
I mean, it's in the way that you use it. I thought that was Martin Knopfler guitar in there. I knew it. I didn't say anything about it, but I'm a Dire Straits fan, so anyway. But that, but I was thinking, I was like, some Martin Knopfler guitar, and then I kind of forgot about it. But anyway. But yeah, good soundtrack.
Special thanks. Sherry and Harold Simonson of Pool and Billiard Magazine. What time of year did this movie come out? I'm curious.
I don't know.
Let's see. October.
All right,
so
we'll pause it now.
Movie. Yeah, sure.
Sync is broken.
So,
well, we should say, you want to wrap anything up? You want to wrap up?
Well,
about
just
The Hustler
again,
and
this is
Karma?
only the second full time I've seen it. I've seen it's actually a really good cable movie to just kind of catch in parts here and there. And so I've seen the whole thing once, but this is only the second full time I've seen it. But again, I've catch parts of it on TV. And again, I think, like I said, I think it's a really great cable movie to come across.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as good as The Hustler, but I also think it's kind of fundamentally a different movie in a lot of ways too. It just takes some of the same. I mean, they didn't use the word IP a lot back then, but just the same kind of Paul Newman pool movie, and taking that and using some of the history of the character, but it also works on its own.
Yeah.
I'd actually be curious to know how many people have seen this and have not seen The Hustler, and just, because I think it could work that way. Although, again, I think The Hustler is superior, but it's just quite good nonetheless. It should be said also in the Schickel book that Scorsese said he considered the original Hustler to be a masterpiece, so he was approaching it as a fan, it should be said.
It was a masterpiece that I saw very many years ago and love very much. Anyway.
So, and you thought, I know you said you liked it.
No, I mean, I like it. I'm still not that crazy about it, but it, it's fun. I mean, it's still not in my top however many of his movies, but yeah.
There you go. All right,
well, it was fun doing these two. It's interesting to do a series like that, which we'll be doing more of later, longer versions of such things.
Yeah.
But it's good to kind of try this out early and see how it goes.
Right. So next week we do want to keep it in the family, so to speak, the Scorsese family, and we're going to be approaching 1995's Casino. I don't know where I would put it necessarily in my Scorsese pantheon. Maybe I'll think about that next week and try to have an answer for that. But I really do love the movie quite a bit. And what I love about it is, for one thing, it's just so much movie. It's like right at 3 hours long. And he's made a few movies by this point that approach that or longer than that. The Irishman was, that was
3.5.
About 3.5 hours nearly. And in Silence, that was...
Wolf of Wall Street was his longest, and then Silence, I think, was his longest, and then... Irishman. Or was Silence that long? Let me look.
It was on the longer side, I think.
I think there was a couple there he kept breaking his record. Yeah, it was 100. Or no. It was shorter. Wolf of Wall Street was longer than that.
Yeah.
So.
But Casino, it's a movie that I remember watching first time many years ago on TV. On cable, on AMC, and how much of stuff they take out of it.
No, it was The Aviator that was the longest for... Well, no, because Casino was longer than that.
Okay.
So let's see how long Casino was. Hang on. Sorry I interrupted you there.
That's fine.
No, it was Wolf of Wall Street beat Casino for how long it was. And then The Irishman did, finally, after that. So.
And that'll very likely be. Yeah. I guess the documentaries that can be pretty long, too.
Yeah.
Dylan and the George Harrison
those are his longest.
But, again, I saw it on TV, I think, many years ago for the first time on AMC. And, they cut the crap out of that movie.
Which is
a movie
fun
like that.
itself,
It's hilarious. Right. But what I really love about Casino within the realm of his gangster movies, and we haven't really said this, that's obviously the mode of movie he's most known for is his gangster films. What I really love about that one is that all of the gangster movies have a different feel to them. Like Mean Streets kind of being his first one really has this kind of early rough around the edges kind of feel to it, which makes it exciting. Then you skip a bunch of years, and again, people think he made gangster movies left and right. It wasn't until 17 years later when Goodfellas even came out. Feels like, again, I think of it in terms of musicians. Like the Mean Streets is the kind of very early, grimy album that shows a lot of promise but still has some rough edges. Goodfellas almost considered what everybody thinks of as the masterpiece. It's the thing that he's been building to stylistically and thematically for all these years, and is the most refined version of it. Casino, the way I always think about that's the live album. That's the one that's going for broke. It plays some songs you've heard before, but doing it in a new, loud, expressive way, and isn't afraid to go off the rails at a few points just to be fun and have a lot of fun on a big scale. The Departed is kind of almost his postmodern take on his own movies. It's almost a deconstruction essay on the type of movie that is. And then The Irishman is kind of feels like a very final sort of ballad.
It's like the rough and rowdy ways.
You could say. Yeah, but Levi, for you, what appeal does Casino have within his filmography?
First of all, and I guess my favorite of his films is Goodfellas. I think his best film is a tight race between Taxi Driver and Raging Bull. I would usually give it to Taxi Driver. But I think that what Casino doesn't have much over any of those movies, I don't think, because they're all better. And I think that Goodfellas is one of the most definitively awesome, great movies that's ever been made. It kind of has everything that is great about movies in one movie. But what's interesting about Casino, like you said, it's like just living at maximal level all the time. It's longer, because, I mean, Goodfellas isn't a short movie. I mean, it's about 2.5 hours, you know, but this is like even longer. It's about Las Vegas, very specifically. What's interesting about this almost is that Casino comes in more from the established people already. Yeah. And it's all about tearing that down. Mm-hmm. Whereas, you know, obviously, I mean, the song that opens, you know, Goodfellas is Rags to Riches. It's all about the rise and fall, whereas this is the fall, pretty much. And I'm not to say that these people are like the top, but they're like established already, you know, with what was his name? Ace Rothstein. Like, he's already established by the Robert De Niro character in Casino. Is already established by the beginning, so there's not a whole lot, you know, that he needs to go to. But then, of course, famously, the end of that movie is him like, well, back right where I started. So it's like almost like he gained and lost everything, and it's kind of like, that's what I kind of like about that movie, is that it's not that there aren't any repercussions for what happened, because he's ultimately out again, but it's like, but he didn't like go to jail or lose his life. It was just like more, you know, a basic like fall. But I don't know. It's just, and Goodfellas is a totally hilarious movie, and I love it. But like, what I love though about Casino, and it's not that I don't take it seriously, but Goodfellas is so great on this level of genuine. Like I said, I don't want to call Casino non-genuine, but it's like it really is doing some really groundbreaking things, and really is like, okay, we're really going to be serious about this. Whereas Casino is just all fun, all filler, all the time, like you know, and it's just like. And
I think on a visual level, it's among his boldest films in terms of.
No, I mean it's shiny.
It's among the bigger budgets he got. I think,
it's just a really big movie. It feels a lot bigger than Goodfellas is, as far as its scale.
And it should be said that, you know, I think he's always had really interesting female performances in his movies. I think Sharon Stone, though, in that is among the more interesting female performances in all of his movies, because of how at once contemptible but also sympathetic in some ways she is. In other ways, she's not so much. But she's just a very specific, interesting character.
Well, she's kind of her and Pesci are the first two things I think of when I think of that movie, because as much as I love De Niro, he's not actually that memorable in Casino. I think he's far more memorable in Goodfellas. But there's actually other things in Goodfellas that kind of outshine him as well, like Pesci or even Liotta, just because Liotta's the main character of that. But he kind of has a thankless role, though, as just being that character in Casino, De Niro. But and he's great. I mean, he has his scenes of, you have a pass, I have a pass, you know, all that stuff. But my question to you, and we can kind of talk about this next week too. Why do you think, and we've kind of hinted at this maybe, why do you think we're doing this instead of Goodfellas, or some of his other films first? I think which we'll probably get to at other points on this podcast at some point. But
I think, again, as a sensory experience, Casino is among his more rewatchable movies. Now, not to say a lot of his other movies aren't rewatchable. I'm not saying that, but just. Again, the fact that it is so much movie.
Well, that's a great cable movie, too, speaking of cable movies.
I mean, just like wall-to-wall music in that. And it literally feels, I mean, his movies are good at immersing you and feeling like you're on a ride. I think the propulsion of that movie, like what it has under the hood, is actually
Yeah.
so advanced and developed for him, even though, like, really in terms of the real story, again, it doesn't do anything all that groundbreaking, but what it is doing with that story on a sensory, stylistic, aesthetic level is pretty advanced for him.
Really great Robert Richardson photography in
Yes,
that too.
yes.
I always think of that scene when you talk about seeing what happens with the scene where he has the guy's head in a vice.
Yeah.
And it's very like Oliver Stone look. I mean, it's Robert Richardson is what it is, but it's like the way the light is behind Pesci, and it looks very overexposed, and it's like there's all this light around, and it's like very sweaty looking, and like, just that's usually when I think of Richardson's photography, that's one of the first movies I think of because it's so bright. And,
so I don't know. I guess I like Goodfellas a little more, and I think it's better. But in terms of just a sensory experience, Casino is just so interesting. I think randomly the number 2 movie with that regard to his career, maybe like The Aviator. Because that's a very different kind of movie, but it's also...
but those opening scenes where it's like in that bar or like big restaurant where Errol Flynn's like eating his peas, that's so like all these things are going on. That's one of the best random expressions of like, that was technically the early 30s, but like 1920s and 30s-esque big band lifestyle is just, I think that's one of the best exemplifications of that in a similar way that this is with like Las Vegas. Because
and again, he can make a movie like Casino after you do something like Goodfellas, because Goodfellas is like, again, taking it a little more seriously, kind of really trying to answer some big questions about the nature of the American dream and the nature between both sides of the law and the criminal, and does all these conditions make the criminal who they are. You almost like get, the characters as we meet them in Casino are almost already halfway through that arc. We don't even see where they come from necessarily. We just get, they're already scumbags. Yeah. And that this city, this place, only makes them more so. I'm never a fan of the idea of people saying, a city or a state or an area is like a character in the movie. I don't like that because, and we'll talk about this maybe more again next week, that I think that, scenery or setting transcends character oftentimes in movies, that the characters come to a scenery or a setting and that the scenery literally changes them. And so it's a much more permanent thing than character is setting. Yeah. And what I love about that movie is that it's like, the whole ending of like, the voiceover at the end of like, he's like, look at what Vegas has become, and all these people moved in and turned into this.
Junk bonds,
And it's like, well, you accelerated that. And there is a lack of, I think the movie knows this, but the character, there's a lack of self-awareness on his part of understanding.
It's kind of like the ending of The Wolf of Wall Street. It's very similar kind of.
Well, it's like, we weren't the people, we weren't Bernie Madoff, or we weren't like people in 08. It's like, and I tell this to my students all the time, it's like, just because you say you're not this is any sort of excuse for what you are. And I think, again, a lot of his movies are on the fine line between what people say is like, endorsing this, or like, is he passing this off as fine or cool or moral or ethical? And oftentimes, I think always the answer is no. Yeah. But he is also saying, but look why people would engage in such a thing, right? That he is acknowledging the tempting nature of these elements at play. And that's a very hard line to straddle, but one I think he does really well. And I think Casino is the ultimate embodiment of that idea, I guess, is that the vice, trying to make your own virtue out of what is undoubtedly vice. Yeah. And so I just think that movie is such a pure distillation of that.
Well, and I think it's a good one to start with him, other than this movie that we just did, as far as more of his his gangster films at least. That it's long, like you said, the style, it's kind of just so overblown. It's like you can talk about everything, and kind of it's a good primer, I think.
And again, what's interesting about something like this is Color Money. It's smaller. It feels as though he himself has something more to prove. You jump 10 years later, he's already made Last Temptation, which he'd been wanting to make for forever. So I think after that point, artistically he felt a little bit freed, and then he does something like Goodfellas, which didn't win, Best Picture, Best Director, but certainly re-legitimized him to the industry. And
then Cape Fear.
Yeah, Cape Fear, like kind of a pure genre movie for him. And again, Casino represents like him getting among that, at that time at least, the biggest budget he'd ever had, the biggest playground, the biggest toy box, and that's what he made with it. So there's a lot to love, I think.
And that's what's so great about it, is even though it isn't Goodfellas, it's just pure adrenaline shot entertainment. Like, and it's good because it's a Vegas movie, so it's like that's what it should be.
Yeah.
But anyway,
and that way, it's reminiscent of some ways of One from the Heart, which is another big Vegas movie to me.
Oh yeah.
Now that's Coppola, and that was in the early '80s, but that's another movie I think that gets to the heart of Vegas, and in some ways more to the pathetic nature of characters who think they're big shots but are really at the bottom of the totem pole. It's interesting because that Casino's taking place right around that time almost. That movie
in the '70s and early '80s. Yeah.
So next week we're going to be hitting Casino. This is Kyle.
This is Levi.
And
remember, what are we doing here at the end? It was that
we're gonna
Thomas Mapother.
Thomas Mapother the fourth. I think he's
like
a fourth actually. I'm gonna make sure before I.
George H.W. Bush pulled up.
Yeah, I had a George H.W. Bush Wikipedia page pulled up. Don't know why. Thomas Cruz Mapother the fourth. So there are 3 generations prior to him that said, "Yep,
Mapother,
this last name we're keeping it."
Oh yeah. So anyway,
so him. This is very recent of him just talking about the experience of making this movie, and of kind of the mentorship that Paul Newman provided for him there.
The thing that interests me about your job is you're not just kind of the star of the film, you're not just the actor. When you're on set, you set the tone of, the approach to the work, the dedication, all of that stuff. You do all of that. Did you learn how to be that sort of set leader, cast leader from some of the greats that you worked with, like Newman or
I was always kind of just had a great work ethic. I think it's something that in my life I've had jobs since I was a little kid, shoveling snow and newspapers, selling cards door to door, because we had to make money. And I liked it. I liked having my own money and working. And so I always worked very hard. But definitely I was fortunate to be able to work with, great artists that were very generous with me, from film directors to actors, Duvall, Hackman, Newman. But just to be able to watch them work on set, every day I was there. So I was very fortunate.
I heard you tell a story about Paul Newman teaching you something very specific on The Color Money.
I remember we were doing Color Money, and I went actually from Top Gun to Color Money, and we were shooting Color Money in Chicago. But I don't know if you've been to, do you ever do a show in Chicago?
A lot.
Okay.
In another life, believe it or not, I used to work for a pharmaceutical company, and the American Society of Immunology... The American Society of Immunology used to have their annual meeting in Chicago, and our company office used to be in Chicago. So I've been to Chicago about 15 times.
Well, you know how cold it is in Chicago.
A pharmaceutical meeting is not like making the colour of money. I am not going to talk it on
I understand.
That, but it's a cold, cold system.
I understand. But a young actor, though, I was there, and I tried my wardrobe on in the summer. And I was like, I'm going to have a leather jacket and T-shirt, And I'm going to have my hair blown back. It's guaranteed up to 90 miles an hour. And there I am in January, and I'm shooting this scene. And I remember in the script, it was like outside. I didn't think about it. Wardrobe was like, yeah, it looks great. And I am doing this scene, and I'm telling you, it's so cold, I can't even speak. And I'm in between takes. And he's in a car, and I'm running to this area. They're trying to thaw. And Newman's like, where's the kid? Where's the kid? It's like, I'm just trying to, he's like, where's the kid? So I have this scene where he's in the car and I'm next to him. And I look in, I'm like, what? He had the warm coat. He had the heater in there, but it was an electric heater, okay? And he just loved the fact that he's driving this car and he's got the electric heater, the warm coat, and I'm in the T-shirt. And he looked at me, he's like, T-shirt. He said, you tried your wardrobe on in the summer, didn't you? And I was like, yes, sir, I did. He's like, watch and learn. Watch and learn. I never forgot it. I literally never forgot. I was like, now I'm like, okay, where am I doing? It's like the time when you choose food to eat in a scene. And I was working with Coppola, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to eat chocolate cake in this scene. You know, I could get away. We had bets going on with the other actors, and I thought, you know, because I have to do it in the scene. It's part of the character. I'm going to eat chocolate cake. We ended up shooting the scene for 3 days, and we did like 100 takes of me eating chocolate cake, and I had to keep eating it. I was like, it was like the first couple of takes, I was like, oh, this is so good. You know, I have to eat it.
Oh,
They're bringing the cake. I was so moist. It's the worst, isn't it? And then it was like, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, did we get it? You know? Did we get this take? And Francis kept saying, let's do it again. 3 days, I was like 100. I was in sugar shock. I was vomiting. So, chocolate cake and Paul Newman, the weather.
Lessons learned. Lessons learned.
Lessons learned.
Thank you very much. So nice. Goodbye.